Hey there, we heard tale of a party.
What the hell going on?
Why you can't just walk your big ass up in here without an invite, huh?
Something ain't had milk. Don't cry. He's all better now.
We ain't gonna kill every last one of you.
We just came here to play.
Pick poor Robin clean. Pick poor Robin clean. I picked his head, I picked his feet. I would have picked his body, but it wasn't fit to eat. Let's go now.
You heard it up top. We're about to get a little horrific, a little southern fried horror. We're about to talk the new hit film Sinners here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin Bread.
Mike Stack.
This is Vampire Jacob.
Oh,
Irish vamp. I'm an Irish vampire, though.
I guess a jig,
How about me?
Vampire Jacob.
Yeah.
Let me play my little fiddle.
The road to Dublin, you know? Just let me
Oi.
suck your blood, you know?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we're, sinners, okay. Bearing the lead a little bit, Irish vampires, but new vampire film as advertised from Ryan Coogler, director of Fruitvale Station, both Black Panthers, Creed 1, frequent collaborator with Michael B. Jordan, who stars in this in dual roles, but yeah, it's the new hotness, got really good scores on Rotten Tomatoes, and yeah, just released this weekend, so excited to chat about it.
That's right. Yeah, I was really looking forward to this one after seeing the trailers and then seeing the early reviews and everything, and people were saying good things about it, so I was like, gotta check it out.
We've done a new release recently. We covered Minecraft a couple episodes ago.
Equally good
it's
movies.
An
I would say.
equally
Equally
astounding
valid
film.
art. Yeah.
We'll rank them at the end, which one we prefer out of the two. But
Yeah.
it's
Right.
early in 2025 still for new released films. I'm happy to be talking a newly released film. I'm happy to be talking a vampire film. Last October, Jacob, you, instead of going through a series like you normally do, picked a theme and you watched a ton of vampire movies.
Yes. And of course, that was all sort of in preparation for another new vampire movie, Nosferatu, which came out. And I saw that in January. So technically I saw that this year. So this is the second vampire movie I've seen this year. So
That's right. And
pretty
Mike,
good track
you
record right now.
adored Nosferatu, so you're batting a
Yes.
couple good vampire movies here. That's pretty exciting as well.
Batten. That's a good vampire joke.
Mm.
Yeah, Nosferatu was my number 2 movie. I couldn't let it sneak above Alien Romulus, but it was my number 2 movie last year in our top 10. So I'm very excited to be talking about another vampire movie, and I'll let you know which one I like better at the end of this episode. So
And
Wow.
Minecraft. You'll rank all three.
and Minecraft, yeah.
can do that too.
They're very
They don't have
different
vampires.
Nosferatu and Minecraft, but yes.
Are
Are they?
vampires in Minecraft, but they have skeletons and zombies, so I feel like that's close enough.
They're horror movies for sure. There's skeletons in it, so we're ranking these 3 horror films. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this. Was really excited to see it. The good reviews help certainly on both critics and audience, which is super rare. And this is kind of what maybe Ryan Coogler's blank check movie after Black Panther 1 and 2, like making $1 billion. It's like, okay, yeah, he's pretty proven.
Absolutely. This definitely feels like a passion project for him. And even so much that I don't know how much of like the behind the scenes news of this movie and everything you guys have been reading and stuff, but the distribution deal of this movie was very interesting in that Ryan Coogler owns this movie. It's a special deal that he made with the studio where he basically owns this movie. I think Tarantino did it as well for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I was just reading
like
this.
he gets
Yeah.
it like 25 years later, the rights revert to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. So I was reading this whole article about it and how studio execs are freaked out because it's going to change the system forever, man, the studio system. But obviously, I just think that means that he obviously had a huge passion for making this movie. It was very personal to him, so it was
Yeah.
very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into more detail as we get in the episode proper, but this is like his first movie that's not based on a true event or an IP. It's his first stab at something wholly original, and it was inspired by his uncle who passed, I think, during the production of Black Panther, who was a big fan of blues music, and it was kind of, he's rolling over what do I have to trade? Time with my family versus following my dreams. So he wanted to kind of connect with his uncle through exploring kind of the Delta blues that him and his uncle connected with. So that was the origin point. So it's definitely a personal movie for Ryan Coogler. Coming at it. But do you guys like him generally? Obviously, we mentioned Creed, Black Panther. Do you like Ryan Coogler's previous works?
Yeah, I remember back a while ago. I think I was still living in Ohio at the time, going to film school, and I went to the theaters. Actually, I went with my parents when they were visiting. We went to a movie called Fruitvale Station, and I was like, "Oh, I want to check out this indie movie, Fruitvale Station. Looks good." Michael B. Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really know who Ryan Coogler was at the time, but I enjoyed that movie a lot, and I was like, "Oh, that was a really good movie." So then I looked it up afterwards, who is Ryan Coogler and everything. So that was my first experience, and I saw that movie in theaters way back whenever that came out,
Right.
2013.
And I haven't seen
Um,
that one yet. I need to check it out. Have you seen it, Colin?
It's very good. I'll also tell a
Okay.
quick story on how I was hip to early Ryan Coogler through Fruitvale Station, Jacob. Former host of this podcast, Joe, who I was roommates with out in California back in the day, is his older brother is part of the Screen Actors Guild union, or whatever you call that, right? The
Guild.
SAG for all the
Yeah.
actors.
Mm.
And they get screeners for free, and they got that pretty early on whatever year you just said it came out, and we were like, ooh, free early movie before it's out, and watched it, and we're like totally blown away by this young first time filmmaker as well.
Nice. And that,
Yeah,
I
that
guess,
was
got him the Creed
2013.
job.
Probably got him the Black Panther job because I think Black Panther came out after
Oh,
that.
yeah. I
But
could have my
this
dates
was
Oh, I
mixed
kind of
think
up.
Creed is first.
oh
I think
really?
it goes
I look
Fruitvale,
at his
Creed, Black
filmography.
Panther,
Oh, you're absolutely right.
to
Because I
this
was
guy.
thinking about the new Creeds because there's been like 3 Creeds
There
now.
have
But
now since
Right.
been,
One that
you're
Michael
right.
B.
The first
Jordan
Creed was
has directed.
I was going to
2015.
say, including one directed by Smoke and Stack.
Yes.
Yes. I'll tell you my theory on that later. But yeah, I guess every movie that he's directed, Ryan Coogler, has had Michael B. Jordan in it. So that's pretty interesting.
Wow.
Um, and I know he likes to work with a lot of the same crew with a lot of his films. I was going to mention this later, but like obviously Michael B. Jordan, but also people behind the camera like Ludwig Göransson, who does the music for this, who's worked with him since way back, and also even like production designer who is Hannah Beachler, who also did the production design for Wakanda
Mm.
Wakanda Forever and for Black Panther. And she actually, I've met her because she's an alumni of the film school that Colin and I went to in Ohio,
Oh,
Wright
wow.
State University. I'll just mention that. And when I was in school, we did these mentorship where we'd have special guest alumni of the program who work in the industry come in and do these sort of classes and special things, right? So
Mm.
in my year, we actually had Hannah Beachler come in, and this was pre Black Panther and stuff, but she had been working with Ryan Coogler, so I actually got firsthand experience meeting and learning from her. So that was pretty interesting connection.
That's
That's
so
pretty
incredible,
cool.
dog.
Yeah, and then she later got an Oscar for Black Panther.
Hell yeah.
So,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
production
No.
design. So
Love to
there you
hear
go.
it. That's awesome.
And we
Pretty fun.
have
Yeah.
discussed his most recent film on this podcast. We talked about the Wakanda Forever, the
Mm-hmm.
Namor film. Quick reminder, where does that guy rank for you? I remember kind of not really loving that movie.
I think I landed with it's pretty all right, but he was handed like an impossible situation, obviously, with the passing of Chadwick
Yeah.
Boseman. So I think it's the best version of what you can do in that situation. The film kind of revolves around everyone handling the death of T'Challa, like in the fictional universe, but also in the real universe. And I think, Angela Bassett was great in that movie. So, it could never be perfect by the circumstances
Yeah.
of it, but he did what he could. And Namor's a pretty good villain. He does good villains. I'll talk about that more later. Like even Killmonger, like he has nuanced villains, so we'll
More.
get into that
Yeah.
later.
And just to mention, I was still looking this up from earlier, but Hannah Beachler, I was wanting to make sure she did win the Academy Award for Black Panther, and she was the first African American to win Best Production Design
Oh,
Oscar.
good
There
Lord.
you
God bless
go.
her.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Yeah, not my favorite MCU movie, but again, with the extenuating circumstances, they were sort of put in a hard spot.
Mm,
I think that they did the best with what they could, maybe.
yeah.
But I'm a fan of Ryan Coogler's work overall, and I'm glad he's doing more original stuff, getting away from the MCU IP stuff a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah, and I love a vampire movie. I love a genre movie, so I'm always excited when an up and coming director or an established director does something specifically genre. Like we got with
Yes.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about it. If there's nothing else we want to cover up top, I think we could probably just jump right in. You guys got to invite me though.
Do it.
Can
I'm
I
going to sing you a
join?
little song to
Can I
show you
join
that I
your
have music in
podcast?
my heart. We can all be a family together.
Yeah, we can all be Pick Poor and Robin Clean right after this.
We're back. Here on Normies Like Us. We're heading to the juke joint. We're dancing a jig. We're, sucking on some blood. Because we're talking the biggest movie right now, Sinners. Here on Normies Like
Sinners.
Us. And it seems to be doing incredibly well, right?
Yeah,
I
it
think it's
overtook
doing
a Minecraft movie,
okay.
which is also Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Minecraft's movie's been out a couple weeks.
Right.
But for an original non-IP, non-sequel,
R-rated.
it's doing, I would say, incredibly well for those specific parameters. And
For
I believe,
Southern Gothic music movies, it's the number
Yes.
one in that demographic. Oh, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Period pieces. Yep.
And it is interesting, like it's the genre of this movie, because it's sort of hard to classify, because it starts as the sort of Southern drama. You really don't, if you didn't know going in that it had vampires, you wouldn't know for about an hour of this movie, right? So it's pretty interesting. There's a big musical element, obviously, to it as well, right? It's all about blues music,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that music has evolved over the years, and black music and things like that. So a lot to talk about there. But should we talk about our theater experiences going to
Yeah,
see
because
this movie?
I had another fun fact that I wanted to bring up. We talk about he frequently collaborates with the same people, and I wanted to highlight the cinematographer, and this is Autumn Durald Arkapaw. She's the first woman to ever shoot 70 millimeter IMAX film as a cinematographer.
Very cool.
So some groundbreaking cool stuff. This was shot on IMAX. Coogler originally was like thinking low budget, even thinking like, we'll shoot on 16 millimeter, make it like Grindhouse. But Warner Brothers came to him and was like, hey, you want to do large format? And he talked to a cinematographer like, yo, should we do IMAX? And then that really kind of put the idea in and said, yo, let's make this thing big. I saw it on a regular screen and thought it looked incredible. So I went to the Alamo again, standard fare. But now that I've been sitting on it. Yeah.
Hold on. What were the cocktails, Mike? What was
They
all
didn't
the
have any.
fun
I was so
stuff?
upset.
Okay.
My friend got a Bloody Mary, though, which was appropriate.
Oh, that's funny.
Bloody Mary.
Honestly, it is, yeah. But so I saw it on a regular screen, but still thought it was shot really, really well. And that's kind of how I saw it.
I'll jump in real quick and say as well that I saw it on a regular screen, and I did see a bunch of young kids going into Minecraft as I was going into this film, and I was very happy about that. But I also thought it looked good.
Right.
Yeah, I can speak more to the filming of it, because I did see it in IMAX. I saw it in 70 millimeter IMAX, the preferred way to see it out of all the ways that you could see it. Because there's non-70 millimeter IMAX, there's different ways, but there's only certain locations throughout America. One of them being, of course, where I saw it, the AMC at Universal City Walk in sunny North Hollywood, California. Right?
I believe there's only 8 places in the United States, period, that can do 70 millimeter, like as full frame. Or
here in LA, I think it was either Universal City Walk or the the Hollywood.
The Grauman's Chinese Theater, yeah.
Grauman's.
You got there early. You went straight to Bubba Gump Shrimp. You got a huge dinner.
You looked at that King Kong that was hanging off the side and thought, we just reviewed that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I like to go down. Take a stroll around City Walk. Enjoy the atmosphere of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Go see the Waterworld live show at Universal. I don't know,
keeping it alive. The legacy.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner.
No, but I do like that there's IMAX theater so close to me, and I can kind of jot down there. I saw IMAX. I saw Oppenheimer in IMAX. I saw that at the Chinese theater, and
Right.
that I don't like going to that theater. It's a little further away. It's a touristy area that I don't like going to a lot. It's kind of a pain to get there and park and do all this stuff.
Parking
Universal's
notoriously horrible. What do you do? Do you
Yeah.
valet, which appears to be the easiest option?
for Universal.
Hmm.
No, I just parked in the garage, and I mean, you can park there, and then if you're going to see a movie, you can get basically it's like $35 to park, and then you go in the movie theater, show them your parking receipt, and then they give you $30 back.
That
Oh,
is
well.
crazy.
Yeah,
So they take the money up front.
Cash.
That's
Oh,
so
man.
crazy.
It's a little
Predatory
weird
parking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
But they
LA
want to make
for
sure,
you.
like, if you're just going to City Walk and you go to a restaurant or something, you can get your ticket validated as well too. So it's they're just trying to make sure
You
people-
take
They're counting on
and
you
your-
forgetting.
Oh yeah, and that
Right.
you're bringing
I ain't about to
18 other
forget, pretty much.
Midwesterners to Buca de Beppo.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a nice theater though, the AMC there, and like it was 70mm IMAX. This movie was shot with a mixture of two cameras, actually two different 70mm film cameras, because they use the
Mhm.
IMAX. They use the Ultra Panavision 70mm and the IMAX 15 perf 70mm, which the 15 perf means there's 15 perforations on the side per frame.
Mhm.
So that's so the widescreen. So I don't know about your guys, because when you watch it, did it switch aspect ratios at various times?
Not
Okay.
at all. Right.
Not
That's
at all.
interesting.
Not once.
So in IMAX, the way I saw it, there was two different aspect ratios, and it would switch back and forth depending on the shot. So when it was
Hmm.
the whole full screen IMAX, that's the 15 perf 70mm, which is
It's almost like a 4:3 though. It's like a square.
143. Yeah, it's 1431, and then 276 is the widescreen. That's the Panavision, Ultra Panavision.
Right.
So that's a 70mm film as well, but the 15 perf is because you put it in the camera vertically or like horizontally instead of vertically, so there's
That's so
more of a
crazy.
frame.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
I
ultra
like
wide
seeing the
format.
behind the scenes though of that, like Ryan Coogler, like really breaking down film
Yeah.
formats, and he really was saying, "Go see this in 70mm," and I'm like, "Dang it, now I got to go to City." Like, I want to watch it in 70mm. So, how was the experience
Yeah.
with it switching aspect
It was-
ratios?
It was pretty good. I mean, it was interesting. I was definitely aware of like when it was switching. I was like, is there some kind of thematic or symbolic reasoning of like what, which scenes or which shots are shot which way? I'd have to watch it again to really kind of think about that. But because there's a lot of it is just in the traditional widescreen, and then all of a sudden it would open up to the full screen IMAX shot. And that was kind of breathtaking. Like it would shoot like the sky or something, and it would be the full
Yeah.
screen of the IMAX. I'm like, damn.
God
I
damn.
did. I did want to mention that because when I was watching this, aware that there was an IMAX version, and it's filmed in Georgia, but they were very careful to film it to look like Mississippi. It's very flat, different kind of geography. But when you're seeing some of these landscapes of Mississippi, as it were, and I'm just thinking this has to be where there's a 70mm full frame, because it's like you could just see the scope of some of these landscapes he's trying to capture. I think that would be really great.
Interesting. Yeah, and I love the way it was shot too. And like you said, Coogler uses a lot of the same crew going back to Fruitvale Station. And I wanted to mention, can we talk about the music and the sound production of this film a little bit?
Well,
because
the movie is music, like that's a core theme, and yes, the sound is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mentioned Ludwig Göransson, who did the music. Is someone that Ryan Coogler's worked with. They actually since college, where they roomed together at USC when they were both in college.
Oh wow.
With Ludwig Göransson was going for music, I think like music for film, and then
Right.
So they met in college and worked together ever since, including Fruitvale Station. Then Ludwig Göransson would work on Community, The Mandalorian, obviously, like a bunch of stuff. Like this guy is
He pulled out the tiny little flute that one
Yeah.
day.
He met Childish
Hell yeah.
Gambino, Donald Glover on Community, worked a bunch with him. So he's been around a lot. If you don't know who Ludwig Göransson is, but he's
Wouldn't it be awesome to just be a genius and meet another genius when you're young?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
like so beneficial for both of you?
that's what college is for. I'm a genius. I met my friend Colin in college.
There we go.
Right.
My other
No,
film
that
score,
is
yeah, it was a
funny.
lot
Yeah.
like that. So the music of this, I mean, yeah, obviously it's all about music. It's the blues, right? And modern, rock and roll music, it all comes from blues music, right? Blues comes
Mm-hmm.
from gospel. So it's all goes back to black gospel music in the South, which is really where we wouldn't have rock and roll, we wouldn't have hip hop, we wouldn't have anything without that. So that's really is American culture,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And this movie kind of deals with that theme. And on that point, because there's music that's the score and is incredible, but there's also diegetic music. So I wanted to shout out, we know Michael B. Jordan plays dual roles, but we also have Miles Caton as
Yeah.
Sammy or Preacher Boy, and he's playing live music. He's an actual musician.
Wow.
It's his film debut, and I am like
Hmm.
blown away by what he does in this
I
movie.
wonder,
But
did he learn the guitar and stuff for this role,
he
or
was
he already knew it?
already a prodigy
Oh,
musician. This is
yeah.
his. He learned
Oh,
to act.
certainly. Yes,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
I could see that being the way in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, because he could have learned just like those specific parts just for the film. Like some people learn, like
Well,
Miles Teller
Remick.
learned for
Yeah, the guy who
Whiplash.
plays Remick learned the banjo for this. But this
Right,
is a
right.
great musician who's never been an actor before, and this is their film debut.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so the way they intertwine the diegetic music with the score, the theme is very much the heart and soul of what music means to a culture, to a community. And it wouldn't
Yeah.
work without Miles Caton. I just want to shout him out. So,
Yeah. And I mean, it's really fascinating to see because all the music that we listen to today basically has its roots in this Southern gospel blues music.
hmm
And then you have these Irish vampires coming, and even they play music and they play their Irish music and stuff. And I
yeah.
love that.
And I guess we'll have to
Um,
say right here, full spoilers on Sinners. If you haven't
Yes.
seen it, what are you
yeah,
doing? Go see it.
yeah.
It's
Don't
incredible.
listen to this before you see it. Yeah.
No, 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 'cause we're going to break
I
it all
should have
down.
mentioned that up top, but there are vampires in this movie.
There are
Yeah.
vampires in this movie.
They're also in the trailer, so I think we're okay right now. But yeah, the history of music and the heritage of music is very much at the forefront of the story, the narrative. They even give us a exposition line of like, great music can pierce the veil of time and space and bring spirits from the past and people from the future. Like it's the great connector. And then you think about it today, like, yeah, just like Jacob said, anything that we listen to came from this, and anything that will be listened to in the future will also have come from it. So for that to be a theme of the movie is super sick.
Yeah, and there's a specific scene, obviously, where that really is laid out in a certain shot, which we'll talk about.
hmm
But I also love that the music, Miles Caton like singing, that's essentially what draws the vampire to this juke joint, right? In the first place,
Yep.
he hears this music, he's like, I got to figure out what's going on over
I
here.
want that. I'm a
Yeah.
white guy. Give it to me.
right.
Yes, give me
Um,
your culture.
Give me your
Yes.
voice.
But I guess to walk it back to, because this movie's kind of two parts. It's been getting a lot of comparison to like From Dusk Till Dawn or something, where you have this kind of initial setup and then we have the horror on the back end. So the first part of this movie, we meet the Stack twins, Michael B. Jordan, Smoke and Stack. They've just come
Yeah.
back from Chicago. They're famous gangsters, and they're trying to buy this old sawmill so they can open up a juke joint, like a club, for all their friends to come down and
Yes.
hang out and party. So that's kind of the first part of the movie, is getting the band together and acquiring this property and stuff.
Yes,
No.
it is Mike. That's fascinating that you say that. It's really cool to see Ryan Coogler play with story structure and genre here, and for him to have the idea of, oh, it's in assembling a heist film, like that's we'll play it exactly like that, but the heist is they throw a really good party. So you
Correct.
need the cook,
Yeah.
you need the entertainment, and I
Yeah,
think
It's a good
that's
way to
really
introduce all
funny.
these characters that we get to know throughout the film.
Yeah. If I could
There's-
pause, though. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
jumped the gun. The movie actually opens and we flash back with Miles Caton walking into the church.
Right,
He's
right.
got a scar and a broken guitar. His father begs him, just drop the guitar, son.
Oh,
We
you got
see his
that devil
hand.
music, son.
Yep. And then we
Yeah.
flash back to see how do we get to this point.
Um,
So, yeah.
I want to mention that there's this, underlying subtext of, the racial tensions in the area, right? This is 1930s in the South.
Jim Crow, segregation.
Jim Crow, Reconstructionist era. And so you have, these two black men, Michael B. Jordan twins, who want to start their own establishment because they want a place for black people that they can go and they can, party and stuff. There's obviously places like that for white people, but they can't go there because they're not allowed, right? So that's sort
Yep.
of the subtext. It's for us, by us, starting, this company.
Yep.
So
Yeah, exactly. It gives something for the community, right? And they just come
Yeah.
from Chicago working for Al Capone, we learned. So it's like they probably saw
Right.
all these establishments for white people, and they're like, likely black artists playing in them, and like, what the fuck? Why don't we have this? I'm gonna go start one back home,
Right.
you know?
They also have a little bit more of a backstory, which we get these hints of. I mean, they directly come out and say we were soldiers, but that they were conscripted to serve in World War One,
Mm-hmm.
a war that had a draft. Which again,
Right.
it's this question of fairness. So many black soldiers were called upon to protect the country that did not love them, right? Which you would see
Mm-hmm.
protests in Vietnam when I almost said Mike Tyson,
Mm.
when Muhammad Ali
Muhammad
would
Ali.
say, no, I'm not going to fight for a country that does not like me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali had a great quote where he said, like, no Viet Cong ever called me the N-word. I have no
Yeah.
beef with the Viet Cong. Why should I go fight them and die over in a country I've never been to for this country,
So
So
you get this incredible backstory of a film that you wish you could see, which is that clearly these two brothers come back from a war that really was brutal and horrible, and you had to fight to survive. Like it's truly one of the highest body counts in history, I think, is like
Yeah,
World
and
War One, right?
a foot infection
the
could
trench
kill you.
warfare.
You know,
Yeah.
It's really rough. Yeah.
Then you come back and you work for the most brutal gangster on the planet, and then you say, "Fuck this!" Rob them, take that cash, and yes, like you guys are saying, decide I'm going to buy a little piece of mine.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he buys it from, a white guy too. And there's hints of talking about the Klan. He's like, don't you know the Klan doesn't exist anymore? And maybe that'll come back later as being important in the story, right?
Yeah.
And then you also have to mention the first shot where you have this flash forward where you see Miles Catton coming into the church with the broken guitar, all bloody and everything. You have this theme of religion, which kind of carries throughout as well. Christianity, a lot of black people in the South post-slavery, they were very religious, right? And so that's a big part of their culture. And Miles Catton wants to be a blues singer, a blues musician. His father is the local preacher who's saying, don't do that devil's music. If you keep going out with the devil, one day he's going to come home with you, So
Absolutely.
all these themes kind of are important, like setting up in the beginning, right?
Yep.
And it's so interesting that you point that out, Jacob, because it's not only playing with this idea of like puritanical, old school ways, music bad, right? It's also highlighting the incredible, rich, interesting history of blues, which
Yeah.
is blues comes from suffering. It comes
Yeah.
from black population suffering directly at the hands of white people, essentially.
Mhm.
And
Turning
then
to
it
religion
also,
and singing gospel music as a way to sort of vent your troubles in life.
absolutely. And then there you also have the odd mythology steeped in blues music with characters like Robert Johnson, who literally is this mythological person of like the man who sold his soul to the devil at the
Right.
crossroads to get good at blues, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we're not doing that in this movie, which I think is good. Like you would think, oh, we'll just do sold your soul to the devil kind of thing. Maybe we don't do exactly that, but we're tapping into that mythology. And I do like that we also have the idea of music and religion at odds with one another in this film, where
Yes.
Miles is kind of choosing
Which is-
between the church life or following his heart and doing the music.
Yeah. Which is so interesting to me because if you think about it, like I said, blues comes from gospel music, right? Gospel singers in church, which became sort of the foundation for blues, which became the foundation for rock and roll and everything else.
Yeah, yeah.
So they really don't have to be at odds with each other. But obviously,
Well,
this movie, yeah.
Sorry, I
Go
just we get lines that allude to this, where it's like, oh
Yes.
yeah, but like the religion isn't ours either. That's also from the colonizers. Like the music was always ours, and that's kind of what they're tapping into with the theming, and I like that
Right.
angle. It's
That's
unique.
great.
And
Yeah.
that's interesting too. Speaking of Muhammad Ali, the the Nation of Islam and stuff like that in the 60s, where a lot of black people were converting to Islam, was partially because of Christianity. That's the white man's religion. We just learned that because post slavery, that's what was available in the area. So that's an interesting subtext as well. But even the idea of the name of this movie, Sinners, right? It's all about sin, right? What is sin?
What is it? Yeah, is music
It's
sin? Yeah,
the title tied with what this movie's about versus The Last Shot, which I hate to already be talking about, but I makes the movie for me, and I love it so much, of him running out of that church and running out. This proclamation that the good things in life do not make us sinners. He is not being punished because he played music that day. That's not what this is.
No.
It would have happened no matter what. Like it's
Right.
this, it's rebuking any of this puritanical bullshit of like, you
Yes.
repent, you this happened because this. It's like, no, absolutely not. The Asian grocers do not die in this movie because they went out to this party or whatever. No, it all just plays out how it plays out, right? I
Right.
don't know.
yeah.
Oh, it's very interesting to me, and all this stuff is interesting because I also recently watched a documentary about Little Richard, right? So Little
Oh.
Richard, one of the first rock and roll musicians,
Yep.
who grew up in the Deep South, grew up in a very religious household, grew up on gospel music and stuff like that. And Little Richard, he inspired the Beatles, he inspired Elvis, like all these white musicians, which came like directly after Little Richard. But really, if anyone's going to be the father of rock and roll, so to speak, a lot of people think it's Elvis. Little Richard came just before Elvis, and
Exactly.
so he invented rock and roll essentially. You can't say one person invented rock and roll, but
I love
he
this.
came from this area where he grew up in the church singing gospel music, and then started doing his own thing, played with different bands around town and stuff. And even later, after he became famous, he eventually sort of reconverted to Christianity and became really serious about it, stopped making music for a long time. He was also gay and doing a lot of drugs, doing a lot of stuff that would seem at odds with the church lifestyle. So he was a very interesting. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about Little Richard in this
To go back
episode, but
to
it's a fascinating documentary to
what I
watch.
just said is that a lot of this music comes from suffering. You have to
Yeah.
have this inner turmoil as well. That's just it's coming out of you as this external force, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just funny for me to see this movie at this time in my life, because I just watched that Little Richard documentary and I was just thinking about all this, the ways blues evolved. And again, this scene, which is so perfect in this movie that we can talk about, of the evolution of music and culture over the years and the way they shot it and stuff. It's like, it was like blowing my mind when I was watching. I was like, I've never seen anything like this in a movie. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. No, and again, I like the angles that he's taking in this vampire movie. We haven't even really gotten to vampires yet, but it's like, what is the relationship to music and sin, right? Like, is there one? Like, that's question one. And like, it's just, he's doing things that are just a little bit different.
And again, I think, with the sinning, sin, what is sin and all this stuff, like, I feel like it's not the music that is sin, but it's the whole lifestyle that goes with it, the drinking, the partying, gambling and stuff. So that's kind of what you associate with the musician's lifestyle in this time.
Well, we do get a lot of representations of the traditional 7 deadly sins through this too, but it's like, maybe the sin is to not live your fucking truth, because he wanted to make music and he, whatever. So that's what
he basically said to his dad.
The title is interesting.
Yeah, like, I've been working in the field all week. I want to have this time where I feel free and I feel myself, and I love the ending part too, where when Michael B. Jordan's talking about, like, for those couple hours, we were free.
Right.
And like, that's the way they end the movie, which, oh my God, the ending of this movie is insane too. But
let's get the band together, right? We bought the barn from a. No, I love it too. I'm gushing.
Let's just, sorry, real quick before we get going here. We're introduced to our 2 lead characters. Let's talk about those 2 lead characters real quick. We have brothers
Smoke and Stack.
We've got Short and Stack, the pancake twins.
Yeah. Right. We're opening up a pancake. We're opening IHOP. Yeah.
Played by Michael A. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan.
I've not heard that one yet. That's very funny.
That was good, dog. That was good.
No, I always
Yes.
used to joke that Michael B. Jordan. Obviously, there's another famous Michael Jordan in the world. You might have heard of him.
Now,
So I
obviously,
call him Michael A. Jordan, the Looney Tunes one.
the
Yeah,
the
Space Jam.
premise of that Space Jam joke is that Daffy goes, "I got us Michael Jordan."
Oh yeah.
I forgot that in
They
Space
did do
Jam,
that.
the new millennium or whatever it's
I
called.
believe
New
Ryan
era.
Coogler gets a writer credit on that film. I believe he was a producer.
That's hilarious.
Well, it's
Yeah.
Warner
I pretty
Brothers, so
much,
is this. So yeah.
I blocked every memory of that movie from my mind, basically. So
Yeah. But
I forgot that happened.
yeah, Michael B. Jordan, dual rules: smoke and stack.
Yes.
Smoke wears blue. He wants the smoke. Stack wears red and wants to stack up the money.
What? That's.
That's kind of how I kept it simple in my head.
I saw Mike online some criticism that these are kind of thin characters, that there's really not much differentiation between the two. I would argue, one, it's exactly what you said. Two, they wear two different hats.
They wear
and those
different
hats
kinds
are
of hats. Yeah,
blue hats and red hats. But also, it's this easy. The blue one frowns. The red one smiles. Like, that's what their whole bit is. Like, it doesn't matter if they got
one
the
is
same energy.
the charismatic showman. The other is sort of like he does
Stoic.
the dirty work, right?
Serious, no
Stoic,
nonsense.
yeah.
Few
I
words,
did.
yeah.
I will say, I don't have many complaints about this movie, but I did at times have trouble differentiating their characters. Sometimes when I'm like,
Were you suddenly
this
going
Smoke?
colorblind? You couldn't tell blue from
Just
red?
look at their
Well, they're not
tie.
always wearing that. Like when they're
They gotta
inside
look for the ascot.
they're not always wearing the hats and stuff. So at certain times, I'm like, I don't know which one this is. I don't know which love interest. Like one of them, has a thing with Haley Steinfeld, right? One of them has a thing with this other woman, and I was just trying to keep them.
Were you and you weren't looking inside this incredibly handsome man's mouth to see if he has a gold tooth or not?
Right.
Oh yeah.
I
couldn't tell you which one had a gold tooth. That's fair, but
either smoke or stack, Mike. I haven't decided which one is which yet, but I'll tell you it's one of those two.
I will say there are differences. Like I could tell with the person. I did have to search for what color tie are they wearing a couple times, but there is a personality difference between them. Like
no, just on first viewing, I had trouble. If I were to watch it again, I think it would be a lot more coherent to me.
Yeah. Maybe now's the time to bring up the fan thing. There's a rumor, Jacob, right? A rumor that it wasn't going to be too Michael B. Jordan's.
I don't know if this is a rumor or this is just my conspiracy theory that could be totally false. I've not read this anywhere or anything like that. I just, it's just my theory.
Okay.
But my theory is that these roles were originally supposed to be for Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, who he worked with on Creed 3, and apparently just really liked working with Jonathan Majors. Michael B. Jordan has said a lot of interviews that he wanted to work with him again and stuff, and they're like, they're going to be the new Pacino and De Niro. And then a bunch of stuff happened.
Right. But, Jonathan Majors was in Lovecraft Country, which has very similar themes to this, except set in the 50s in Chicago. And Wunmi Masaku was also in Lovecraft Country. So if you're going to have somebody named Stack be a tall-ass Jonathan Majors, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, so I thought, I feel like to have the two brothers played by these actors, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. And then when all this stuff happened with Jonathan Majors, they sort of kind of reconfigured it to be twins and then have Michael B. Jordan play both of them.
But Jacob, I saw a theory online. It was always going to be twins, and that it was actually going to be played by Kang and Victor Timely.
Oh, interesting.
What do you think about that?
Yeah.
No, I like your concept, Jacob. Like it does make sense, like Stack being Jonathan Majors' pre-villain arc. But when I saw this movie in its totality, though, and seeing the ending theming with how the twins really played into the story and the heart, I'm like, it really needed to be twins. It needed to be a dual role for it to really pay off. So I'm glad they did that.
And I mean, that was just my theory before I saw the movie, and I was always wondering why they chose to do it this way with Michael B. Jordan playing dual roles and everything. And now that I think of it, they also work together, Jonathan Majors and Wunmi, what's her name?
Wunmi Masaku and Lovecraft Country,
and Loki. They work together.
And Loki, that's right.
That's She's Lady Space Cop or
B-32 or something,
Sure. So,
so she was also in Deadpool, right? For like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Get the residual check when we go get it.
But
I
thought she was great.
Oh man, I thought she was great in this.
Yes.
But
But
Smoke
yeah,
and Stack,
so Smoke and
Fly in
Stack,
a Barn.
2 Michael Jordans. We also
Slightly
have
confusing, but I think he still did a great job. That's all I'll say.
right. Yeah, we have Miles Catton as Sammy Preacher Boy Moore. We have Wunmi Misako as Annie. We have Haley Steinfeld as Mary. Jamie Lawson as Perline.
Mm-hmm.
And the great Delroy Lindo as Delta Slim, the old drunk blues musician.
Yep. So when we're getting the band back together, we bought the barn. We end up at the train station where we meet Delta Slim. He's playing his harmonica. They're like, "Hey man, do you want to come work for us instead?" We meet Haley Steinfeld, and we meet Perline, who's gonna like go sing for them. So this is kind of we're meeting all these characters in this one scene.
Yes. Now the Haley Steinfeld role is interesting to me because number one, obviously she's playing this character that is like 1/8 black or something.
Mhm.
And so she's sort of white passing, I guess you could say. Has a previous love affair with Stack.
Red Hat. Yes.
Sure. Okay.
I feel like they sort of the marketing in this movie, they showed too much. They gave too much away in the trailers because they showed her being a vampire in the trailers. Like she has that line where she's like, "We're gonna kill all of you," or whatever she says, right? "We're gonna kill every single last one of you."
Yeah, something like that.
I'm like, why did they show all that in the trailers? Like, it should have been a bigger surprise when she gets turned because she does not start out as a vampire in this movie. I thought she was going to be part of the vampires. She was already going to be a vampire, but she
The
starts.
one that's racist, Jacob.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, that's important to highlight. Yeah, like in the era that this was made, if she is 1/8 black, she would, if that was found out by the white community, she'd be rejected. They had that whole not one drop racist
That's
ass policy.
That's true. Too black for the racists, but maybe too white for the black communities because she would be judged by her looks, right? So she kind of was.
Happens in this movie too, and in real life, her grandfather was half black, so it's like an interesting. Art imitates reality, but that's what the character is kind of doing.
If your grandfather is half black, then you're like 1/16 black.
And I'm not the authority to speak on this, but in the movie, it's at least like she is white passing, but loves a black man, and so it's like she doesn't really know where she belongs either. Because,
and obviously, even if she was 100% white, that would have been frowned upon in that era to be for an interracial couple. So
they say like Stack, like I helped you find a white husband and stuff. She's like, I didn't want a white husband and shit. Like I wanted to be with you, and you left me. So they have this kind of former flame dynamic going on.
All I'm saying is I wish they didn't spoil so much in the trailers because she obviously becomes a vampire in this movie, but it would have been better if it wasn't spoiled by the trailers.
Yeah, it's a delicate tightrope to walk. I saw one where they spoil that. Spoilers for this movie we're talking about. One of the brothers.
Oh yeah, that's another thing in the trailers too. When stackers. Yeah,
I don't know. I am anti that, but I it's one of those things. If you're tuning into multiple trailers, they've got to try and hook you. I was surprised at how unwilling Haley Steinfeld was in her turning, so that it almost kind of got me that maybe she would get away for a second even, and I was thinking about the trailer, so it had me in my head, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it is like you have to get people to want to come see the movie, but and it's even with like Marvel movies and things like that, which are more spoilery movies where they'll spoil certain cameos and things like that in the trailer. It's like I just wish we could it'll be a little more of a surprise when we see the movie. But again, you have to get people to want to come see the movie in the first place.
Yeah, and I don't like when trailers give too much away, but it's like Colin said, tightrope. But I think there's also enough in this movie that was completely different from what I was expecting that it's like there's still enough new stuff here that I love this movie. So but yeah,
and Haley Steinfeld, an actress I like a lot. Yeah, True Grit, obviously incredible.
Who's this character? Spider Gwen.
Love her so much. What's interesting, I think, is that she hasn't really done a live action role in like a couple years as an actress. So if you look at her filmography,
besides Kate Bishop,
yes, I meant in movies.
Films.
She did the show. She's done a lot of voice acting recently with
Dickinson, another
Spider
show.
Gwen, Arcane. She was in
Oh, yeah.
Dickinson. But in terms of movies, like if you look at her filmography, like she pretty much hasn't done a live action movie role in like a couple years, which is interesting. So this is sort of a return
Well,
to live action film.
but
Yeah.
Jacob, she did get another job as a backup quarterback. There's potential that she's
Yes.
too busy.
Yeah.
She got engaged to Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. She's been doing the Spider-Verse movies, obviously, but it was just nice to see her in a movie because I was like, oh, Haley Steinfeld, I remember you.
Mm-hmm. And I guess
So that's all.
No, and while we're meeting these characters at the
Bumblebee.
train station, you try to suss out what are the sins. Like, I don't know if it's envy. You know, what is her angle? We know that Delta Slim, obviously, he's a drunk, and he gets bought over by the fact we got 500 bottles of Irish beer. So his kind of like gluttony. We have
One bottle
Perline,
of
who's
corn liquor.
yeah, right. Perline's maybe lust because has a husband, but is kind of thinking about hooking up with preacher boy. So there's also that classic sinners, but it's also interrogating: is this really sin or is it living life? You know, so interesting stuff here. But that's
I
kind
love
of our
the very
first.
literal take, Mike. I did not consider that.
I think about things too much.
Like they each represent individual sins, you think?
Potentially, we have greed with Stack, and anger with Smoke.
Yeah.
Wrath.
We have voodoo, the sin of voodoo.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
To get the rest of our cast, like we end up going to pick up Omar Benson, who plays Cornbread, and like this is interesting too because it's post Civil War, obviously, but they're still sharecropping and picking cotton, right? It's still the echoes of slavery
What's
They're
overshadow.
now paid for it, but of course they
Reconstructionist
make
era.
Can't escape the
quarter
shadow of
bushel.
it. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
if
kind
a
of
penny a bushel.
right. That's
Mhm.
what's interesting about this era. Like, yeah, they're still doing the same jobs. They're just getting paid very little instead of nothing.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, and obviously cotton is like was a huge industry for the South. Like that was like
There's
the main
two,
reason the Civil War was fought because they needed to support their economy with cotton production made by slaves.
Yeah.
This moment and another moment. There's two very interesting, sort of reflexive. Hold the mirror up to not blaming black culture in a way, but pointing out like black culture is stuck because of the fascist bullshit that happened to it them. This moment saying we're not slaves anymore, we're sharecroppers, which what that means is exactly what Jacob said. Instead of getting housing, all this stuff provided for us, meals, treated horribly, abused, all this other stuff coupled with it, but taken care of, we instead make a penny and must fend for ourselves, which is this other horrible flip to the system to keep people oppressed and keep people down.
And you had this
later, sorry, real quick to finish this thought up, you have this entire sort of battle between the brothers of we're not taking these guys fake money. We need real money.
Right.
These people don't make
That's
real
all they
money.
get.
Yes,
That's
in
what
this
they're paid.
entire system of argument of like, well, we went out of our way to make this juke joint for black people so we could have our own space to be. Black people need to pay us back by actually coming here and spending their money when it's like they don't have money in this, delicate dance that again you have to do where again the culture has been forced into those circumstances in a horrible way.
Yeah, systemic oppression, creating those conditions. It's very much a theme of this.
And in the South, post Civil War, of course, you had this thing called the Ku Klux Klan, which was sort of, running rampant at the time, and they essentially what the Klan was former slave catchers and stuff, and overseers who just put on a different uniform, like a pointy hat and a cape, and started lynching people and things like that. So it was really post Civil War, the South was obviously still very unequal place to live for black people. They were very much oppressed.
Maybe more dangerous because there was just this boiling level of hatred that had never been seen before of like, how dare you escape the horrible lives we gave you? I'll kill you for it. And it's like, what?
And this movie doesn't shy away from that. Like Delta Slim tells the story of like, yeah, we went and played this gig for some white people. We got paid, and then we were walking around. My buddy ran into some random people, white people. They're like, "Where'd you get this money?" He said, "We played a gig." They didn't believe him, and they lynched him. Like, he's explicitly saying like this shit is
and like stuff like that would really happen. And it's again, it's funny to be watching this movie at this time because like I've been recently like watching a lot of movies about the Civil War and stuff recently. Colin knows, like reading my letterbox and stuff. Like I'm very interested in that era of American history and everything that was going on, and how when the South lost the Civil War, the Confederates, they were so basically embarrassed by it that they kind of came down harder on black people who live there because they're like, this is basically your fault, like we're all poor white people because of you, like you couldn't just be happy being slaves basically, and that's, they blamed it on them and they took it out on them, and that's when the first Klan sort of rose to prominence post Civil War. So all that undercurrent of, and this is what the sort of the final, maybe not the final twist of the movie, but like the real villains aren't even like the vampires really. I mean, they were villains too, but when you find out what's really happening and you're like, oh damn, like, and it kind of sets it up in the beginning. I'm trying to be vague because I want to give everything away now.
No, we're getting to the juke soon, because the last kind of group of people I think we need to get is we meet Wunmi Mosaku's Annie. This is Smoke's former lover. We find out that they had lost a child together, and maybe that's why they weren't together, but she had made him a juju bag to protect him. He gets mad and says, why didn't it protect our baby then? Because that's probably why they had their falling out. But they kind of reconnect. But her thing is she's kind of the hoodoo, the kind of traditional medicine-ist.
Yeah, she does this character. Like Bayou
non-Catholic religion stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Kind of.
I had a really good reactive audience, and we got two sets of gasps. One was in the Omar Benson introduction scene where they're picking cotton, and he says, well, this is my pregnant wife, and he says, I'll give a shit about your fucking wife, or whatever he says.
Yo.
And the ladies went, oh, like really gasped. And then at this moment too, Mike, a very, very big gasp. And when he says, why didn't the juju bag save our baby's life?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I like this scene too when she's like, well, look, how do you know? Like, because basically he's saying like, well, that bullshit doesn't work. She's like, well, how do you know it doesn't work? How do you know I wasn't praying for you every day and like doing everything I could think of to keep you safe?
So you didn't die in Al Capone's
like, you're still here.
crime ring. Yeah.
And he's like, well, I didn't work on our baby. But Colin, it is funny because like my audience was very receptive as well. Like I saw this in a packed theater, IMAX, like I said. But the audience was very into it and just laughing a lot at various things, especially like anything Delroy Lindo was doing. Like people were cracking up.
Got a couple wolf whistles in this scene right here when it gets to some adult lovemaking. When we get in this nice R-rated movie, some adult situations that it's not shying away from.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the woman taking the initiative, making a move on them. They're very
Haley Steinfeld.
This is a movie.
My favorite quote.
That also got gas. This is a movie about how nice it is to perform oral sex. This is almost every character walks away learning, like, you know what I should actually probably get good at and do?
Yep. Chaperone the giver, she would be proud.
You stuck your tongue up my coos.
It's like when you're, licking ice cream. He describes like he's trying to explain it to Preacher Boy how to execute.
Hold on.
Very funny.
When he says it to Perlene, hold on, I want to do something for you, and she's like, "What?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Very funny. So it is a sexy movie. Yeah.
It's great.
Vampire movies should be.
How rare is it to see one sex scene in a TV show these days outside of Game of Thrones, let alone multiple sex scenes in one movie? Again, it felt very freeing, I'm sure.
And it was very like even this scene with Wunmi and Smoke.
Yes,
when
Annie and Smoke.
When he goes to like her cabin and stuff, and they have this really emotional scene, and then they have sex, and it's like a very like the music coming up and everything. It's a very poignant sex scene. I was like, damn, this movie is crazy. Like,
and never gratuitous though. Like it's like sexy. No, it's very hot, but it's not gratuitous.
No, it's like very within bounds, I would say, actually. Yeah.
And they're like also like obviously grieving their lost child and everything. It's very emotional.
And so he convinces her through having sex to cook at the juke. She's a really good cook, so that's what we need you to do. But she also has this spiritual background, which will come into play. And I think that
Yeah.
covers our cast of. Oh, and we have
And
to
we
get
get
to our
the
The
Chinese
Chinese store
grocers.
owners.
We get
Yeah.
100 catfish from some old friends of the Stack brothers. And again, just real quick, talking about form and stuff, you have to assume this is a Ryan Coogler screenplay as well. He wrote it with another person, but just looking at like the idioms people use today in screenwriter parlance of like the save the cat moment and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's doing a fucking phenomenal job at touching these tropes, maybe giving their audience exactly what they want, but bending them in a way where he's constructing them himself, in that you think the save the cat moment. And if people don't know what that means, that is a term coined by Blake Snyder, who's one of these like screenwriting gurus who wrote this movie called Sea of Love with Al Pacino. In the opening scene, he puts out a flyer that says, free baseball game for so-and-so people. He's an undercover cop. He's bringing in these perps to come get these baseball tickets and then arresting them. Once that sting's over, a dad comes with his young son and he winks at the guy and says it's closed and lets the perp get away. So, quote unquote, your save the cat is a nice gesture of characterization you can do to let the audience know that this guy's a good guy in their own terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, with this film, you think you're getting the moment of Smoke paying the little girl to sit in his car, right? And just like, hey,
Keep an
he's
eye
being
out.
nice to a kid on the street or whatever, right?
Yeah.
No, what it actually is the moment where those guys rob him and he shoots those two guys very brutally and, just unwilling to compromise his own morals and has to put on a show of, hey, we're these big badass gangsters, we're back, but then goes inside and pays for their hospital bill.
Yeah.
So Ryan Coogler's doing the Save the Cat, but a brutal adult version of it.
Yeah.
He's like, sit in this car, honk the horn if anyone comes by and is like eyeing it, right? And then so she honks the horn, he comes out. And I like this moment because he shoots the guy before he knows who it is, and he's like, oh, like, I know you. Like, what are you trying to rob my truck? He's like, I didn't know it was your truck. And then he's
you
like,
shot me in the ass, though.
Yeah. And he has to shoot the other guy because he's like, I can't have anyone saying they almost robbed me and got away.
What are we supposed to do?
That gotta
you're in the
laugh.
street. You gotta sit on it. Okay.
But yeah,
I'll
then he
go down to
pays
the
for them
doctor.
to
You'll
get
make it.
stitched up. So
And then he does the quote unquote good guy thing, which we know as an audience member, dumb morons like us. Oh, this is the protagonist, and it's dumb that that
he's
you
a gangster,
have to
but
use these tricks, but you do.
he's not evil. He can do
Article.
good things.
Right.
Too.
No, I love that. So,
but we get, of course, Delta Slim, the old musician, the old blues musician as well. They hire to play piano there. He's an alcoholic, and he's been playing at this other place. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, the grocers, because we're in this scene, and he's like doing teaching the girl how to negotiating with the wife on the prize. But we get a shot where the guy's like, hold on, let me go get her. And he has to walk across the street to their other market that's for the white customers. Because, the actress mentioned in an interview that like Asian people were kind of like a bridge because they could own and operate businesses in both white and black communities, but we're also not necessarily a part of either. So it's like they're in a weird place in this time in history too.
Right.
So
We're getting a lot of stuff, Mike, where Preacher Boy is saying, is it true what they say in Chicago? There's no Jim Crow.
Right. And then he does, doesn't he say?
It's horrifying.
Right, but then they still tell him like Chicago's just like Mississippi, but some taller buildings or something.
Oh, you think people aren't racist there?
Yeah,
the world is racist,
but still not great. Like even during the Civil War, like a lot of people in the North were still racist. They were just like, maybe we shouldn't like own people, but we still don't want to like live near them or work with them.
And Lovecraft Country touches on that, and it's set in the 50s, like 20 years later in Chicago.
Yeah.
So,
right.
But that's the crew, basically, I guess, for the Juke.
Yeah, but did we talk about Delta Slim, the old blues musician?
We talked about meeting him at the train, and he likes his beer, but if you want to expand upon that, go for it.
Oh, just, I didn't remember if we talked about him, but yeah,
Delroy
they get him, and he has this speech about...
Best actors ever.
Yes, Delroy Lindo, legendary actor. He has this great speech where he's like, well, I've been playing at this other place for 10 years, and like you say you want to pay me today, but how I know you're going to be around next week?
Mm-hmm.
This place I've been playing at, like they'll still be there in 10 years, so he kind of has to be convinced to come over to this new place. He's like, you don't understand, like this is a place for us,
Mm-hmm.
that we started and everything, and we're going to give you this nice cold Irish beer right
Hell
here.
at
He's like,
beer.
oh.
Like
And that's
Gilligan's
again,
Irish Red.
yes, that's again greed, and even cornbread. He's like, yo, this is my wife. I've got this job. It doesn't matter how much money you want to pay me. And she's like, yo, shut up. How much money are you going to pay him?
Yeah.
And that
Yes.
got a laugh.
That was a scene that got a big laugh in my theater as well, just like everything in that scene where he's like, man, fuck your wife. People are like, what?
Yeah, but
I
then even the
would,
wife is like, no, how much money though?
I would recruit Mike as our cook. Jacob, I'd recruit you as the big door man. The whole thing's down like
Oh, yeah?
cornbread.
I would want to be a musician.
You would be the drummer, yeah.
You would summon the vampires to us.
You don't Slim
my
and you
fault.
would be like, should we go do some heroin in the back? And I'd be like, Jacob, don't do it.
Yeah.
I'd just be rolling
Slim is
D20s trying to
not
tell you how to
surviving
defeat
today.
vampires too on the side
Yeah, there you go.
after cooking. But yeah, I think we're setting everything up for the big party now. We're making a sign. Sorry, the only color we have is red,
Right.
loading in all the
And-
instruments and everything.
So good.
We do get these scenes where we meet a white man who shows up to this house of a white couple, right? And they open
he's
the door.
burning
their
up for
guns
some
pulled.
reason. He's smoking.
Yeah.
He's got all these
He's
blisters.
running. Right.
Mhm.
He was running in the sunlight. He comes in. He's like knocking on the door. They're like, "Who the hell are you?" Some Southern white people, very trustful.
Well, then, yeah,
like,
he's
"Look,
being
I was-"
pursued by a group of
Yeah.
Native Americans, Choctaw.
Yes. He's being pursued by these Choctaw. So they let him in, but obviously, what happens?
Well, yeah, they let him in, and then the Choctaws catch up, and then they knock on the door
Yes.
like, hey, there's a dangerous person with you. And they're like, we don't like
Very
Native
dangerous.
Americans. And then he looks to the side, and he sees the
Yeah.
KKK garb, and he's like,
Yes.
have a nice, good luck. And he basically says, oh, these are
Yeah.
bad people, but I don't care
Right.
anymore.
Fuck
And they
you,
just
racist.
Whatever. Let's get back before the sun goes down.
Fuck
Yeah.
it. We're out
I
of here.
love this. This
Yeah.
is in a film that does
This is
not
world
have
building.
a ton of lore or world building. This is the world building, Mike, and it is A class. Just having like Choctaw vampire hunters. Like the rest of the movie, I was like,
Yeah.
please come back. They're
That-
so good.
Those three words
Right.
together are very good. I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
And we meet our main vampire himself,
Mm-hmm.
played by
Yeah.
Jack O'Connell, who another Skins alum.
Oh,
The
yeah.
show Skins. Like we said in other episodes of our podcast here, so many great actors have come out of this show Skins that was on in the 2000s that was about British youths partying too much. But we got some
The
of our best
euphoria
young
of its
actors out
day.
of that.
Jacob,
And-
we of course saw him very recently on our 300th episode where we paired talking about 300 with, of course, the sequel
Oh,
Rise
that's
of an
right.
Empire, where he
Yeah.
stars as the young sort of Michael Fassbender type stand-in.
Yes.
That's right.
But if you don't know, for Skins, he was on the second generation of Skins, the Kaya Scodelario
Our girl.
years. So it was you had the first two seasons, which was the Nicholas Holt was sort of the main character, and then his sister, played by Kaya Scodelario, took over as the main character in the next two seasons, and he played one of the young men that was vying for her attention, you might say.
Against Dev Patel in a triangle.
Yeah, well, Dev Patel was in the first generation.
Oh,
as
that's
well,
right.
but-
First generation. I
Yeah.
got confused.
And I
However.
sort of fell off from the second generation, but yeah, he came out of Skins, and yeah, he's a British actor, obviously.
Irish British.
Irish, yes. Well,
In
so
particular.
the vampire being specifically Irish, I think, is very important in this movie. Again, we're talking about these different cultures of people, right? You had how they were treated in America at the time. Like you said, we had the Choctaw vampire hunters. We had the Asian grocery owners who could own businesses and things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a very specific choice to make this vampire Irish because the Irish have sort of a history of oppression as well. They were oppressed by England for a long time. the British, and then even in America,
Exploited for labor
Irish
on the Transcontinental
Americans.
Railroad, much like the
Yeah, well,
Asian Chinese people.
they were white, but they weren't considered like fully white, and they were oppressed not to this extent that black people or other racial minorities, but certainly Irish Americans were oppressed by more, like Anglo-Saxon
Yeah,
white people. They're like, well, they're not
Absolutely.
really, they're whatever, they're untrustworthy. So the Irish,
And
when they came over to this country, were oppressed for a very long time. So
well, and like vampires and Irish are both a plague on this country.
jeez, just like
Yeah.
watch Halloween 3, the most anti-Irish movie I've ever seen. But he also
Sam
tells a story.
Wade!
Sam Lane,
but
but
a
he
lot
does,
of it's
well,
interesting because a lot of
yeah,
Irish immigrants were fleeing the famine, right? They're fleeing the famine, came over to America, and then they're like, oh, treated really so badly because they're like, you can't trust these fucking dirty Irish people.
right, and he
Now,
does. Well, I want to like he tells
Yeah,
a
yeah.
story that goes even further back to oppression, and it's like when Christianity was basically kicking all the pagans out, kicking out the snakes. He says that's like
Right.
the era. He's been alive at least that long. So when I
Yeah.
divest the music from Christianity, that's why I think that's a theme, because he's also like, Christianity fucking screwed me over and took my dad's land, and I saw that oppression. So
True.
just ties
well,
into
And
it.
certainly, and the type of music, folk, having such ancestry.
Yeah, traditional
just-
folk,
yes.
traditional
Yeah.
Irish music, and also just the the troubles that the Irish and the English had had for a long time.
Yeah.
In Ireland, obviously, United Kingdom wanting Ireland to be a part of the United Kingdom, and a lot of Ireland not wanting to be a part of that, and they had some troubles over that. The IRA, all that stuff. But you have Northern Ireland, who's, and this is also goes back to religion because you have Catholics and
Mhm.
Protestants, right?
Right.
Northern Ireland predominantly Protestant and predominantly pro England, and then you have the rest of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, who's heavily Catholic and heavily anti-England. So those religious ties, those religious differences were also cultural differences.
Right.
So
And I guess we'll get to that point, but like that makes the vampire very interesting as a villain, because he doesn't see himself as evil. Like he sees like himself
No.
as sympathizing with the plight of our main character. He's like, I get what it's like for
Yes.
people to oppress you. Like I understand you. Like that's so
Well,
he
everything he
feels like he's doing
says-
the right thing.
Yeah, everything he says, he's like, I love equality. Like, I want us all to be equal together. I want us to all to be a family, right? We come together as a family. So he's almost see him giving people a gift of turning them into vampires, making them immortal. He sees it as a gift. Like, I'm taking away from your mortal troubles, your, all these prejudices in society and stuff. We'll all be one family together and we'll be happy together.
Right. And so the typical way to do this story in a less talented hands would be the vampires are just white racists that want to take the black people's stuff. And in this nuance of having an Irish vampire
Yeah.
who lived through being oppressed and feels like he can relate in some way, it's such a smart angle to go, and what elevates it beyond like the average vampire or do you get the message kind of movie. So it was a
Yes.
smart choice.
I think it was very interesting as well, yeah, because he really doesn't care about these racial or cultural divides. He just wants to turn everyone into vampires, basically.
And yeah, and so he sees like he goes into their house right after the Choctaw leave. He murders the husband. He's all better now, and he turns that family into
He's
the
just
first three
rescued.
vampires. But to
Right.
him, he's like, that guy's not racist now. Like I made that guy better. Like I
Yes,
improved
because
this guy who was shitty. Yeah.
essentially, yeah, he sees the clan robes. He's like, oh, these are some racist white people. But when you turn him into a vampire, he kind of says later, like all of his memories are now my memories. All of my memories are now your memories. So we're kind of sharing together and becoming one,
Culture.
like a hive mind almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little commies. It's almost a vampire, or it is a vampire film.
Almost a
It's
vampire.
almost a zombie film, right? There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
sort of more of a spreading an infection angle opposed to sort of a mythological.
And I kind of see it almost
Yeah.
as like he's a cult leader where he's like, I need to give you the message of my cult and convert you into one of my followers, basically.
Mm-hmm. And you could still have like we were saying, all the music we listened to came out of like blues and gospel. It's like, oh yeah, he just wants to absorb your culture and like it'll be completely homogenized and have none of its distinct qualities. Like that message still lands, but there's still another
Yeah.
layer of nuance to it, which helps elevate the
Right.
script.
Well, I think vampire, it's an interesting way to make a vampire movie because he's not just a vampire in the literal sense, but also in a cultural. He's a cultural vampire, right? Taking
Mhm.
this black culture and making it homogenized, like you
I
said.
thought it was a little on the nose when he said, "My name is Spotify." And he did like the big hiss.
Hello, my name is
Yeah.
Warner Music. Boy, have I got
Yeah.
a deal for you.
But I did think it was funny because we had this incredible scene, which we can talk about when they're dancing.
This is what attracts the
and
vampires. Yeah, we get the party rolling, we're
Yeah.
having fun, right? Yeah.
Miles Catton playing the blues. And I don't even know how to describe the way they shoot this scene, but it's all
Well,
like
it's
it's a
exactly-
oneer, and it's go ahead.
It's how Mike described it. That is the wording that people have now used in the write-ups of it. It is the pierce the veil scene. He is piercing the
Mhm.
veil through time, but also culture, as you've explained, Jacob. And we
Past
see
and
every
future.
aspect of music. Yes,
Yeah.
from the roots of tribal drumming to
Mhm.
blues guitar, as we said, to unfortunately, it seemed like white guys like me doing the robot in the corner, just
Right.
like being so corny
Yeah,
and
you had-
lame.
You have modern music, you have electric guitars,
Yeah.
you have hip hop, you have turntables and things like that.
They're getting twerking happening. Like it's
Yeah,
covering
but
all
the way
we
this
get a
is
future
shot,
man.
it's kind of like panning
Yeah,
around the
strip-hop.
room, and it's a mixture of like people of that era, but then you also see someone, from the future, from the past, and it's just like this scene is insane to me.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so this is a scene, that it's a wonder. It's very technically complex. People are coming in and out of frame of different eras, different
Yeah.
period costuming, different instruments in and out.
Camera's
Right?
kind of rotating around, going up and down.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Complex,
Yeah.
the choreography of all the people in that room, it's already crazy. You get a future man, right? It's like, and this is the
Yeah.
scene that with another director, you would lose the audience in this scene if you didn't do it right.
Yes.
But this is like a highlight of the movie because it's done so well.
Yeah, and up to this point, we have to say like this is a Southern period piece with no really vampires or anything like that. Like just a normal
No.
period piece about two guys opening a juke joint.
The
And all of a
worst thing
sudden
that
we have
happens is somebody tries to steal something from his truck and it's his friend.
Yeah.
Like that's the most
Yeah,
drama.
and a little actiony. Yeah.
But it's
Right.
all it's all set in this period, and then all of a sudden you have these like visions of people from different eras of music and stuff all in this one scene. And then it kind of pulls out to the building burns down.
They're
and they're
burning
all
the
dancing
house
together.
down.
By
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
power
they're-
of their music.
It's so
Yes.
sick.
And it pulls out, they're all dancing together, and then it cuts to our vampire,
Remick, yeah.
Jack O'Connell, Remick, and he's watching this, and he's just like, this is what draws him in the first place. So it's setting him up, but it's so incredible.
And because it's Sammy singing it specifically, Sammy is who he wants. He's like, yo,
Yeah, he's got the voice of an angel.
sign to my record
I don't know.
label and I'll exploit you, please.
Yeah. But I love when he shows up. So at first, obviously, he shows up with these two white people that he already converted to vampires. He's like, I hear you got a party going on. We got money. We want to drink. We want to eat. We want to play some
No,
music.
We're
and everything."
hungry as dogs.
Yeah, we walk
Yeah.
here. And they're like, of course, turning him away at the door. These three random white people, a little suspicious coming up here,
There's a moment here though, because they're like, no, we're musicians too, and they go into that. I've been
Yes.
pig poor and pigeon or
This
Robin
is so
Clean.
funny. Like they all start this Irish jig, and I'm like,
We did a little ditty.
Right.
No,
but
not.
we like music too.
It's so
But I love
good,
this
but-
idea that
Mhm.
turning these two white people into vampires made them good at music.
Yeah.
Is the insinuation, because I don't think they could play music like that before.
They
Yeah,
share all knowledge.
memories, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. But
It turns them
this
into
is
folk musicians.
exactly. But this is one of the greatest moments for Smoke and Stack because Smoke is just like so angry, but then Stack's kind of nodding his head like, this is weird, but I'm kind of into it. And then
Yeah.
Smoke looks at him like, the fuck you doing?
All
Subtle
right,
moment.
we're
You see
going
Haley
to
Steinfeld in the
walk
back.
really slow.
Just
In
in
case
case.
you change your mind. But they see Haley Steinfeld in the back, and they're like, wait, how did she get in?
Yeah, that's
She's
that's
She's family.
Like,
Right.
Yeah,
Shut
I want
up,
us all
get
to be
outta
family.
here.
Yeah.
fucking racist.
Even the way he sells it too, and he's like, "Oh, well, you mean why can't we come in? Oh, because and he just kind of rubs his finger on his skin. He doesn't like say. He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
As old
It's like
this.
trying to guilt trip them, reverse.
Right.
But then, so we talked about the wooden nickels earlier, and Smoke's like, the fuck, we got to make money, right? And they're like, all right, I did the maths, and we're not going to make any fucking money here. This is financially ruined. And that's when Haley Steinfeld's like, well, they had fucking money. Let me go see if they actually got money, because I'm right.
Let
so
me go talk to
the
them
greed
white
again
to white.
creates a problem. But yeah, so then she goes outside.
Yeah.
Well, that's what continues the story. Is she goes out to talk to them, and then she sees that they have gold and shit. They're a little weird. They get
Play another
vampire on
little
her.
song.
We got money. Oh, we got money. Old.
What kind of money is
balloons.
that? Old
Yeah.
Well, that's
Solid
not what I'm
gold.
looking for.
I like when she comes up to him, like they're singing another song. Like this movie basically turns into a musical for like a good amount of it.
I love all the songs too. Like they're weirdly like funny or like just strange. It's very well done.
Yeah, I mean the whole score of this movie again, Ludwig Göransson too. Like the actual score is really good. Like, and it takes a lot of different styles and like kind of melds it all together. Like you hear electric guitars at times, and you hear different things, and it's just like it's
and you know what? I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but like the electric guitars seem to remain present. Like I don't think we heard them until Preacher Boy broke through the veil, and then from that point on, at any time in the movie, electric guitars can come out because he's already broken through time and space. I don't think they were present prior to that moment. And that's really cool.
That could be,
yeah.
I really want to watch this movie again because there's so much I want to absorb again.
I need to go to IMAX, but yeah. But now we're getting to the second half of Dusk Till Dawn when Haley Steinfeld goes out there. Yeah. They get a little vampire-y. She has a gun.
Well, there's some really good. There's some really good editing too, and some really good jump scares that got me too. Because like, even when she goes out to talk to them, and then they're kind of weirding her out. She's walking away. They show her this weird gold. She's like, okay, whatever. So you're like, oh, maybe they won't turn her. But then as she's walking away, you just see him stand up in the back and then start to like levitate, and then it cuts.
Yeah, they do these.
Cuts all of a sudden to inside, and they're playing music and stuff like the editing and the sound design is so effective in this movie.
With how important music is to the sound design. It's like it's the next level. They always say like sound is more important than picture and film score. Like it's at least 50% of the experience. The audio is like 70% of the experience, and that's on top of the incredible visuals that we're already getting. It's pretty wild. And
this movie does this at multiple times where it's about to show like something really violent, like her getting bit by a vampire, and then all of a sudden it cuts inside to them playing music, and it kind of juxtaposes this violent scene outside to the violent music inside, or the
right.
People getting their sweat and their stink on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
what the Haley Steinfeld attack starts our new runner, which is characters asking Cornbread if they can come back into the club.
Yeah. So this is another thing I wasn't expecting in this movie, is that it sticks to the rules of vampires more literally than I thought it would, because I knew it was going to be like vampires, but I thought it's going to be like a different kind of vampire. No, these are straight up vampires. You have to invite them in. You can kill them with a stake in the heart.
It's funny that you say not Dawn of the Dead. What the hell is it called?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn. Thank you. I was really thinking about Jesus, what is it? 30 Days of Night? Is that what the film's called?
Josh Hartnett one?
Yeah.
The Josh Hartnett one where it's them vampires invading a small town where
in
they
Alaska.
Throw the rules out, Jacob, and just make it like they're sharks. I really thought they'd play with their own mythology like that movie, but it was very surprised like you that there was a very gothic.
I kind of like the traditional vampire rules, because I think vampires are best when they're obviously incredibly strong. They have a lot of powers, but they also have a lot of weaknesses and a lot of ways to fight them, because that makes them more interesting villains. So
you have to invite them inside. On fire in this movie because they eat a clove of garlic. Like that's very silly, but also like great for a vampire movie.
Yeah, and I like the again. We're doing traditional stuff, but slightly different. Like you have that Biasa let in. We see that when he's being chased by the Choctaw. He's like, "Hey, can you please let me into your house?" Like they're setting up that this is an established part of the lore, and they finally let him in. Yeah. But this becomes very funny at times too. Like there's moments of humor in this movie. It's not just a horror movie. Like Cornbread goes out to take a piss. Like that stuff's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah.
That he needs
No,
to
there's
get that
definitely
in.
funny moments. Like my
Cornbread,
theater
why
was
you saying
laughing
it
about-
like that? You ain't never asked me to come in here, not once.
Right.
I'm
No,
just
all
saying,
the
we're all
all
gonna
the
go in there and have a
invited
good
stuff.
time. So let me come in.
Let me come on in. It would be
I thought that
rude
was-
not to.
yeah. It was so funny the way they did the invite in stuff, and then eventually like Annie's just like, oh, they're vampires. Like they literally just say they're vampires, and everyone knows what a vampire. Like I hate when they do like zombie movies or something, and they're like, oh,
Huh?
these walkers or whatever. Like no one's ever
Mhm.
seen a zombie movie before in that world. And obviously this is the 1930s, but people knew what vampires were about. You know, they heard stories, and
Yeah.
things like that. So
But Jacob, if you were in a Haint movie, wouldn't you be like, "What's a Haint?"
yeah,
Right.
some voodoo magic.
We start with it's a
Um,
hate, and then it's like, oh, this is even worse than a
yeah.
hate. This is a
Oh, it's
vampire.
worse than a Haint.
It traps the soul in the body.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is some straight up Buffy the Vampire Slayer type vampires. Um,
Haley
and,
Steinfeld
yeah,
is our
so at least-
infiltrator, though. She's the first one because she gets bit,
Yeah.
and then Cornbread lets her in because he has no reason to suspect. And then we slowly start having the shit hit
well,
the
then
fan.
she goes to Stack, I believe,
Mhm.
who is her former lover, right? And he's like,
This line
she's-
got a gasp too, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
remember.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you making all this money, but you too afraid of this pussy?
you robbing
No.
banks and robbing whatever,
Yeah.
but you're too afraid to steal this pussy for a night. I was like,
Yeah,
damn.
Yes.
Okay.
He
She
talks
okay.
about
takes-
her pussy twice in this movie, which is
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
have to imagine she took the part.
Vampires are sexy. Like, I'm like, damn, okay, fine.
I did
so she
see
takes
like
him to the
online
bathroom.
people were joking like after seeing this movie I understand what Shamik Moore was going through in the Spider-Verse movies. Because this whole
Oh.
thing where Shamik Moore was like unrequitedly in love with his co-star Haley Steinfeld,
And
who
posting
Right.
insane things the day she posted her
Right,
engagement.
but now the rest of
Yes.
us finally get it. Okay.
yeah, I had to feel for him
Normal.
because he's the every Spider-Man has always dated their Mary Jane in real life until this one, so I do feel bad
Sure.
for him. But
And it's
What are
got
you
to
gonna
be
do?
better than Josh Allen, you know?
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
It's
how
easy.
far can you throw a football?
That's right. But yeah, she takes him to the back room. We get that funny beat too when they're like, yo, where's Stack? And they ask Preacher Boy to go find him, and he opens the door, and they're
Yeah.
like having sex, and he's like, just closes the door. He's like,
Oh.
I'm not going to go in there.
I'm not
But she
going
just
in
seems
there
like,
alone.
oh, what they doing in there? Yo, 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 yo.
It's like, yeah, I'm not going by myself.
Virginia
You're coming
Slim.
with me.
Did you guys ever watch Metalocalypse back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that show. And there's the episode, Mike, that maybe you guys both remember, where they go and they need to learn real suffering. So they go to an old blues man to learn
Yeah.
old blues. It basically
Right.
Virginia Slim is playing the character of old blues man in this.
Right. No, and he's great in this too. Even when like
Anybody
it's a little bit
smell
later.
shit?
It's like I think I just shat myself. Yeah, like a little bit later. No, he's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But this is I guess just before that, there's the other Gasper line, and he's like, "Baby, you drooling?" She's like, "You want a taste?" I'm like, "Oh my
Want this
god,
drool?
Dude,
Drool in my
that
mouth real
was
quick. Haley Steinfeld.
wild.
that's the line, dude."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so she obviously turns Stack or Smoke, one of them. Also Cornbread goes out to take a leak, and he's like, watch the door or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when we get that whole
They left you in
Scene.
charge, Virginia Slim? He's like, I guess.
yeah.
Does
But so they walk in on them, and
she's feeding on him
in the
basically.
process. Yeah. And then his brother's like, what the fuck? And just starts blasting, shoots Haley Steinfeld a bunch of times with his gun.
Akimbo, like double
Yeah, just-
wielding.
She's totally
And she
fine.
just
though,
gets
of
right
course.
up.
She's
Yeah,
a
we're gonna
vampire.
kill every last one of you.
We're gonna kill every last one of you.
Is this where we get the garlic
Yeah.
water?
Yes.
Yes. So
When
she's,
was that? I don't even remember that.
Annie
throws garlic water.
throws
in her
garlic
face,
water
so-
on her, and she runs out.
That's what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that
And
was
so
just like
this,
holy water. I was like, where'd they get the holy water?
yeah, she's like, oh, this was we were brining garlic or whatever. So,
I know there's that scene where they all eat garlic and they're like to make sure they're not vampires, which is a very funny scene because one of the characters
Delta
is like, I
Slim
just
is
don't
like,
like garlic.
well, one of them doesn't like garlic. Then Delta Slim is like dying, and he's like, I just had like 500 of those Irish beers, and I don't feel very good.
If you don't eat
I
this
feel
fucking
so
garlic, I'm
sick,
gonna shoot
man.
you in the face.
But yeah, so she runs out. Haley Steinfeld runs out, and then
Yeah, Cornbread
Smoke
gets
won't let
turned
them
as
take the
well.
body outside. They won't let him take
Yeah.
Stack outside, so they just lock the door, and then
So
the
they
night
put him in a
ensues.
closet, which brings up the interesting paradoxical rules of a vampire, which does he have to then ask to leave that closet?
No, I think he could get out of that room, but it was locked, so he couldn't open the door. That's why he was
So it's just
knocking.
the
But then
main
eventually
door
he
to
broke
the
door down.
household.
Yeah,
Yeah, if
because
he
he was
gets
already
into your
inside.
house, he can go into your bathroom all he wants. He just can't come through the
Okay.
front door, it seems,
It's
because he
not
does
every
break it
door.
down. Right,
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
just the threshold.
That was a great scene though when he wakes up, he's knocking on the door trying to convince his brother to let him out and everything.
Oh,
And
Stabs
that's
a
another
knife through
scene
the door.
my audience was going crazy because he put the knife through the door and then
Huge
he was
jump
like
scares.
looking through the
People keep looking through the hole.
audience
Get
were
your
like-
head out of
Like
there.
Preacher Boy.
No,
what
literally
are you
someone in my
doing?
audience was like, Don't put your hide near there.
That's funny. Seriously though, don't do that. Yeah.
Don't do
Serious.
that.
It's like, come on, Smoke, it's me, your brother. Open up. But he bashes down the door eventually.
Yeah. So basically, after this whole commotion, like people kind of know something's going on because, like, they hear a bunch of gunshots in that room. So they're like, okay, party's over. Everyone go home. Everyone's
That's
leaving
right.
except for like a couple main characters. Basically, they all get turned right later. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
all
I can't
leave.
remember.
But
Yeah, and then they all leave. It's just our kind of main group, and
Yeah.
then Stack escapes. He like leaves the barn for some reason or another, and this is where we get like the second biggest music number probably. Once everybody leaves the party and they get turned, as Jacob said, you start hearing
Yeah.
some music from outside, and this is
more
like
Irish jigging.
yeah, it's the road to Dublin. We get a whole Irish
I
jig
love
with all the
this.
party
Yeah, we got a
goers.
whole Irish.
He's three-stepping
look,
and everything, river
Yeah,
dancing.
he just wants to turn everyone so we can all be in harmony and play songs, play music together. Like that's
Yeah.
that's not that bad. Get to live forever. Come on.
But what do you think of the road to Dublin sequence, Colin?
That was great. It's again making Jack O'Connell a great villain, giving him interesting business. I feel like I'm getting a little lost in this moment in that it doesn't seem like Stack or Smoke. I believe it is Stack who's been converted, correct?
Yes, correct.
That he's being like highlighted as being like a big villain. It kind of seems like now he's kind of moving into extra territory. Meanwhile, Smoke is still like the obvious like leader of our surviving crew.
Mhm.
So this to me is maybe a little bit of the writing weakness where it's like, and now I'm done with that brother, and I can kind of just go back to focusing on the one.
Well, he's still there
character
in
whom I
the.
enjoyed.
He's dancing in the background with Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Well,
But even
I
she
think,
kind of disappears.
right. Well, that gets paid off during a little bit later, but
Yeah.
I think in the moment, at least for this Remick wise, I think he's trying to like appeal to them because the road to Dublin is like about an Irish guy who goes to England and fucking hates it, gets treated like shit, and just wants to go back home. So he's trying to be like, look, I understand what it's like, and so that's when he gets this final appeal where he goes to the door with Stack and Mary, and he's like, look, guys, I'm telling you, like, it's a lot better to be a vampire.
Better
Like
this way.
you
Come
see
on.
this guy that I
Yeah.
turned? He's a racist. So I know they were going to come here and kill you guys all. Like
So
they were
this
all
is-
they're coming to kill you anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the big reveal.
Mhm.
And it was foreshadowed earlier when he's talking to the guy that they bought the building from. He's like, the
Mhm.
clan don't exist anymore. Don't worry about that.
I pay you
Right.
this money. I never want to see your white face again.
Yeah,
You
if we
got
see
it.
you or
Wink,
any of your
wink.
clan buddies on our property, we will shoot you and kill you. Right?
Yeah.
We find out that their plan the whole time was that all these clan people were going to get together and come over there and do something bad. Right? So,
Remick
by
just
this
tells them
vampire's
that's the
logic, it's
plan.
like, look, they were going to come kill you anyway. So, like, I'm kind of actually helping you by killing these, turning these white racists into vampires. And that's where we get the big, action scene at the end of this movie with Smoke.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yes, so we have
I-
yeah.
I just want to say, like, this is another one of the subversions, I think, of the vampire genre, where Ryan Coogler is like, again, arguing that, like, hey guys, like, I think I'm helping you. Like, why don't you just
Yeah.
get on board? And to even have Stack is arguing with Smoke, it's like, look, I am Smoke. I know I am who I fucking am, and I'm cool with this. This is actually good, dude. Like, you should join us. And his twin brother appealing to him, I think that's really a strong moment in this movie,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
But how much level of autonomy do the converted people have?
It
It's
seems like a
clear.
fair amount. I
Yeah,
mean,
but it also kind of seems like you guys said, of the hive mind of like, well, we're just gonna do whatever the queen tells us to. So
Well, so for instance, like in Buffy, when someone's turned into a vampire, they're not really their self anymore, but they have all their memories and everything that made them who they were before. But
okay.
they get possessed by this demon, so they are evil, but they can use their former self memories against you, so they can pretend to be that person. So it's really a question if they're even the same person anymore, or there's something
sure.
different.
Hmm.
So Stack could have been just pretending to still be himself. So we really don't know, I think.
Still, out to layer though, but when the twin angle is too, like when Stack dies and Smoke says like, he was the best part of me. Like something about the twin identity of being difficult to exist separate from one another. Like he was the best
Yeah,
part of me.
conjoined souls.
Yeah, and having to
Yeah.
wrestle with that, basically looking himself in the face on the other side of the doorway. I think it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Use of the trope.
But basically, there's a lot of vampires now because basically everyone that ran out of the club got turned into vampires, right? So they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of outnumbered. And then even
Store owner's
the
husband
Asian
goes out to get the
woman,
car.
she goes out to
Yeah,
get he goes out to get the car, and then they're kind of threatening their daughter who we met before. They're like, if you don't, do what we want, we're gonna go, we're gonna go get your daughter.
right, right.
And that's kind of what leads her to eventually invite them in, and that's when the big fight starts, right?
The brawl.
Hmm. Yeah, and
The
Annie has
brawl. They're
explained
getting
like,
all they're all getting ready with steaks and
right, we're
different,
gearing up.
garlic water and stuff. Yeah.
I've seen people criticize this character for this moment of inviting them in, and it's like, I don't get it because it makes sense to me because she's like, well, they're threatening my daughter, and really what's at stake, pun intended, is either we make a stand now and kill them all, or they're going to go to our town and kill everybody that we know. So
Yeah.
it's on. Like, I don't understand why people are criticizing the actions of that character because it makes sense to me. It's like, we either stop them
Oh,
Right.
she's
or everybody's
desperate.
fucked. And she's desperate.
No, the
Yeah,
only
it makes
other
perfect sense.
the only other thing they could have done is wait until sunrise.
At which point,
But yeah, they were
they'll go kill
threatening her
everybody.
daughter, so obviously, yeah, they don't. She'd rather fight them now than have them kill her daughter. So
And they'll probably
yeah,
kill more than just the daughter. They'll go through that whole
yeah,
town.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah, the fight's on, and yeah, it's a big rumble, bloody rumble.
Big rumble with a lot of our characters dying or turning into vampires in this fight. We get an insane shot of the Chinese woman who I should
Grace,
her actor's name, something like that.
Lee Jun Lee.
Lee Jun Lee, who again I liked her in this movie, and the
Burns.
the shot. So she gets lit on fire. She like lights her husband on fire and also gets lit on fire. And there's this crazy shot of like her on top of him and they're like both
Right.
on fire and stuff. It's
Oh,
very
yeah, that shot is
visually
crazy.
arresting. Yeah.
I forgot to mention the scene too where Remick speaks Chinese to her
Yeah,
because like he
he's saying
now
like,
speaks
oh,
Chinese.
all of your
effusive.
husband's memories are now my memories, and again he's talking about
No,
cunnilingus.
he's talking about cunnilingus, but like the rest of the cast doesn't know what the fuck he said. She has to explain he's threatening my daughter, but like 'cause obviously they don't speak Chinese, so it's like an interesting moment where
Yeah.
it's like, just between Remick and her of like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but he's like in Chinese. He says like, "I even know how you like to be licked, right?"
yeah,
And stuff like that. So
very pro
yeah, a lot of
cunnilingus
that.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I like this movie.
Me too. um, but yeah, big rumble. Well, I guess we didn't mention the scene, but Sammy, Preacher Boy, gets it in with Pearline. He
Right.
shows her what's up. So they do the deed too at one point.
Then she gets turned too.
But she gets turned, right? Correct.
Yeah.
And so Annie had Smoke.
Smoke is her partner. Yeah.
Okay. So before, when they're talking, she had Smoke promise her that if she were to be killed or injured, mortally injured, right? Before she made him promise to kill her before she turns, because she doesn't want. She's got someone waiting on the other side. Their child who
We
died.
both do.
We both do,
and
right?
basically what she said, because she's like the voodoo spiritual lady, she's like, a vampire, their soul gets trapped in the body and can't move on to the next life or whatever. So she doesn't want that to happen to her. So she's like, kill me before I turn, promise me, right?
Yeah.
Put a fucking stake through my heart, I don't care.
Which that's
so she has, yeah.
It's a classic like zombie movie thing too. If I get bit, you gotta do the right thing, But like,
right, yeah, it's a
for
very zombie
Smoke
movie.
to be the one to do it, like another big emotional moment. He's losing everything throughout the course of this evening,
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you have to so he does have to kill her. He stakes her as he promised, but then you have to think like if she did get assimilated, now the vampires know like all of the anti-vampire moves.
Right.
Like they would assimilate how to defend and like be even more sinister. So I think they were really pissed when she died too, because they're like, "Fuck, we needed that info."
Yeah.
So Michael B. Jordan fights Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
And Preacher Boy says if they're gonna come for you, they got to go. No, sorry, Delta Slim says to Sammy, if they're gonna come for you, they got to go through me. He makes a big self-sacrifice.
Get out through that window.
Yep.
Kind of cuts himself, and you're like, "Why are you doing this?"
Very, very funny. And then, there's a big scene where Smoke has to kill his brother Stack, but kind of cuts away before we see him actually do it.
We do see the juju bag protect him from getting bitten, though. Stack gets the upper hand and tries to bite him, but then the power of the juju bag protects him, and so that's how he's able to get one over.
That's right.
So thank you, Annie. And then, so Preacher Boy jumps out the back, and it's still not safe. He gets confronted and kind of surrounded by Remick and the entire squad of vampires.
Big fall.
It is a pretty big fall. It's like 15, 20 feet.
Ends up in the water. Remick's got him by the throat. He's explaining what he's going to do with his powers, how this has been all about him. Everyone's there, including his girlfriend, right?
Perlene's there
and
now.
He's struggling. He grabs the guitar behind him. He El Kabongs him. Boom! Hits Remick right over the
Jeff
head.
Jarrett.
Pop.
Yeah.
And then I just kept thinking, well, great. So he'll use that neck and then just use it as a stake to go right through him. No, we just get Smoke out of nowhere to save the day.
Right. Yeah. Stakes him in the back, right?
And
then also, like, isn't the sun coming up? So they're all the vampires.
The sun is coming up too.
So it's about to. We get the big. You always get the if you kill the master. Like the really cool kill. Jack O'Connell's like shooting fire out of his chest up into the sky. It's awesome. And then as they're screaming, the sun rises, finishes off the rest of the troop.
Yeah.
Right. Except for maybe two that we didn't see die.
We do see a cutaway.
We're only left with 2 survivors. Oh.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll get on that. But there is a lot of good moments. I love this scene between Remick and Preacher Boy because it's like he's dunking him underwater. It's like almost like
like a baptism,
evil baptism, right? But then in an act of desperation, Preacher Boy starts praying, and when Remick starts praying with him, it's like one of the craziest things in this movie. And he's like, I know that too, because they taught it to me. And at the time, the words gave me comfort, but they did not save me, and they will not save you. I was like, damn.
Threw me out of my country.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
And like Nosferatu, having removed the crucifix will repel you. Like I liked this movie remove the Jesus will protect you. Like it's not that. It's like community. Yeah. Like your people will protect you, right? Your community will take care of you. So I just wanted to highlight that moment.
You even get the assumption that it's not necessarily that the juju bag is the proper religious offense against it, as much as it's just the power of her love protecting him, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Like Harry Potter's mom.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just like that. But yeah, and so then Smoke is like, all the vampires are dead. Smoke is like, yo, Preacher Boy, get out of here. Get rid of that guitar. Don't fucking mess around with this shit. Promise me you're not going to go to Chicago. Even he's telling him, like, be done. You're done with this. And he gets him out of there. And then Smoke stays to do what he's got to do. And then
we see
Preacher Boy goes to the book.
Yeah, we get the scene from the beginning of the movie where he goes back to his father's church. with the broken neck of the guitar and everything. So we see what how that led to that. But then we see him basically riding away from town in a car, and it seems like he still made his choice that he still wants to go to Chicago and do whatever, right? So
Not a
There's
punishment.
something-
The music is not evil.
Exactly. Like he's making a choice after what he's had that night, and we have it underscored. You know, that was the best night of my life. That was the best day of my life until all that shit happened.
yeah,
That was the most free
well,
I
I
ever
want to talk
felt.
about that
just
in a
playing
minute
that
too when we
music.
get to
But
that last scene.
to that
but
payoff. But let
yeah,
go of the guitar,
the-
son, and just seeing that close up where
Right.
he will not release it. So anyway,
Yeah,
but this is our big payoff.
Smoke, he's going to fight. He's going to kill all the Ku Klux Klan people, right? Because they're still showing up. They're like, this can be opening day and your closing day.
Yeah.
They're ready to. You're going to burn down this building and do whatever. It seems like so.
We see what's
which
in
they
the
were always
crates from
gonna
the
do.
truck. Right.
Yeah,
And Remick tells him that
vampires-
was always the plan.
Yeah, so like they don't even know about the vampires yet.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Smoke, he's got a machine gun and whatnot.
Yep.
So we see the big guns that he has in this case, right?
Yeah, and he's getting ready. He's getting the guns loaded and everything. Then he's trying to roll a cigarette. And then Stack would always
so
be the one that
earlier-
rolls the cigarettes for him.
Yeah, his hands shake, I assume because of the war, right?
PTSD,
World War One.
yeah.
He probably got some PTSD. So his brother would always roll the cigs for him and then pass them over.
And he'd
And now
smoke
all he
them,
wants
right.
to do is roll a cig, but he can't.
And he's
roll it.
reflecting on all the memories of that day of seeing his friends, his loved ones, the party, and
Yeah.
what he lost. And then now there's people coming to take even more from him, and he can't roll the cig, and so he's like, nah, makes his last stand. And we saw this in the trailers. I'm like, where's the machine gun scene when I'm watching this
Right.
movie? Like it's
Where's the
in
scene
broad
with Michael
daylight.
Jordan
There's no
with the Tommy
vampires.
gun
And
with just
yeah,
blasting?
let me see
Yeah.
that. So it's a very cathartic, Inglourious Bastards kind of moment of just killing a bunch of Ku Klux Klan's members. It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Including the first guy that sold him the building. He kind of saves him for last, right? He's not dead yet. He's just kind of incapacitated. And he goes up to him. He's like, "You got a cigarette?"
Yeah.
Right.
And this
Gets a
is
cigarette
symbolic
from him.
too, because he gets
Yeah.
the prepackaged, privileged white man's cigarette pre-rolled, right, with a
Right.
filter. You don't have to
And
do
then-
it by hand,
We
right?
hear a voice say, "Don't smoke those around the baby."
Exactly. I don't want to get that
And then
smoke on
this-
him. Elijah. She
Yeah.
calls him by his birth name.
Right. So he's having this vision of Annie and their baby. And then this white man in the background saying, "I'll give you money. I'll give you whatever you want. Please don't kill me." And he just fucking lights him up, shoots him a bunch of times. And it's
Yep.
very cathartic.
It's also just real quick because Mike said the thing about Smoke and Stack having real names.
Mhm.
Elijah and
Elijah.
Elias.
Elijah
Mhm.
and Elias. There is this through line about another aspect of their past was their abusive father.
Oh,
Yes.
And they shared the story that
Who was the
Smoke or
preacher-
Stack.
Preacher's brother, because they were cousins with
Yes.
Sammy.
And that is
Smoke
where his
killed the
guitar comes
father.
from. It was their father's guitar. That is a big twist reveal. And then that
Right, but he
the
tells him
father's
it's
death
Charlie
happened
Packard's
because-
guitar. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yes,
lied.
Yeah, they lied to him on multiple levels. It's
And
just very interesting what their familial relationship is.
Yeah.
And why did they go to Chicago? And they did say and our daddy passed that evil down to us. And then it's well, if he was a musician, was maybe their evil already attached to the guitar? Who knows? There's stuff you could infer by giving it to
Yeah.
Sammy. Did they damn him or not? I don't buy into that, but there's stuff you could read
I love
into
it.
generational violence, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of good thematic stuff in this movie. That's
Yeah.
why I
And
like
that's
it
Sinners,
partially.
then it ends. That's it. There's certainly nothing in the
There's
credits
nothing else
at
that
all.
happens.
It cuts to black. It's over.
Yeah.
The end.
Um,
So did you guys
no, but
know
there
that there were post creds for this?
yes, I had heard.
And did
before.
you know there were two?
No. No.
Yeah.
Now
were
you
able
call
to
this
see
a
them.
post-cred. This is a mid-credit scene, is what we
Yes.
get.
Well, there's a
to
mid
start.
and a post. I would say
There's
this
two.
scene,
Well, describe it
really
all, because I don't know what the post is. Then
the post is not that
Well, we'll do-
important. It's just
Just
It's
go
very
through 'em
important,
both.
but do
Go
the
through
mid creds.
Yeah.
the mid credits is essentially the real ending of the movie.
Yes.
Like essentially, so the movie ends. It cuts as the credits are playing. It cuts to a blues musician playing guitar and singing, obviously in more modern times.
In
It's like 1990.
1996.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah,
got a big
1992, but we
claw
see-
scratch across
Yeah.
his face.
But first, we just see images of it as the credits are going, and then we cut to this scene, 1992. Now
Club
this is
called
very interesting.
Perlines.
This, oh yeah. So this is an old man, Sammy, preacher's boy, and this actor is Buddy Guy, who's a very famous blues musician, right? So
Mm-hmm.
interesting casting there. But
Been
this is
60 years.
1992, and he's an old blues musician now, and he's sitting at the bar, and who walks in the door?
Well, importantly, the bouncer says, we
Yeah.
got 2 fans waiting for you. They say they
Oh,
want to
yeah.
buy a round of drinks. And he says, let them in. Because we have to
Right.
let them in,
That's
obviously.
right. You gotta
Which
get
is a clue
permission.
to who could this be?
It's
Yes.
Virginia Slim.
It's Haley Steinfeld and Michael B. Jordan,
Fresh Prince
looking
of
very 90s,
Mississippi.
dressed in the most 90s way possible, in a very funny entrance that they make.
He's got a flat top
I
and
was just-
everything. It's very funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does. She's wearing the nanny's outfit. It's great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, they look great. Yeah, he's got sunglasses and everything. He's got like the brass knuckles that say like stack on it.
Yeah.
Yo.
he does.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and then they show up because we saw a cutaway. There was a brief moment during the big brawl where he grabs Haley Steinfeld and they're like, let's get out of here. And they run away from the final battle. It's really brief. Blink and you miss it.
I don't know if we even see that or we just don't see them die, basically.
I believe I
screen.
saw them like, let's go this way.
Oh.
But I've only seen it once, so maybe
Yeah.
my memory betrays.
We see the scene where, Smoke has to kill his brother, but we don't see him actually do it, and we see him sort of hesitating, and then later we find out
He's still
he
alive
actually
with her.
He said, "I'll let you live under the condition that you let Sammy be. You don't bother him, don't kill him or anything, and let him live his life." And so they did that, and so we see them now the same age as they were in 1930 that they are in 1992 because they're vampires.
Yeah,
and they have this scene with old man Buddy Guy.
Man, when you went electric, I was so mad.
Yeah. They're like, I like the original. She still got the
Bob
good
Dylan.
shit in you. But they do offer him the deal one more time. Like, look, man, you've had a good career. If you want to live forever, we'll give it to you,
Right. And he's like, I think I'm good. But this is where we get
Had
like
enough of this.
the best, the great lines in this whole movie, like the whole theme of this movie where he's like, until all that bad stuff happened, I think that was about the best day of my life that I ever had. And then Michael B. Jordan's like, yeah, it's the last day I saw my brother. It's the last day I saw the sunrise. And for a couple hours, we were free.
Damn, that's so powerful, man. And it really makes the first half of the movie, like, it's just getting the band together, just having a good time. It's like that. It's the community thing, just like hanging with people you care about, that care about you. And it's like, that is the best day of your life, like, damn.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best lines in the movie. But then the post-credit scene, I didn't know about. I had to watch it online, Jacob. What is the post-credit scene?
I saw it. Yeah, it's just again, it's just Miles Catton as Sammy sitting in the church and playing a song.
But
I
the
guess
song
I don't
is
really
important.
understand the significance of it. Okay, I didn't know what song it was.
So
really.
the song is "This Little Light of Mine." I watched somebody record it on their phone. He's singing "This Little Light of Mine," which is the song the choir is singing when he goes into the church in the beginning of the film and the end.
Yeah.
So this indicates to me that his choice was always to go to Chicago. His light is music, and if if your highest calling is to do what you're talented and share it with the world, which is This Little Light of Mine, he was never going to not go to Chicago. Even when Smoke told him not to, his dad told him not to, and it wasn't his fault that the vampires came. He brought the ancestors too. It wasn't just evil, so it's like,
again, it goes back to like
important.
there's certain kinds of music that can pierce the veil and bring the spirits, right, and everything like that. So it all ties together. And even before the vampires attacked, Smoke was telling him, like, if you go to Chicago, I'll kill you myself, basically. And he's like, well, kill me then. He's like, you just gave a soldier an order. Like that whole scene, that was before the vampires even attacked. So they were trying to tell him not to go down the same road that they went down and stuff like that. But he was always going to do what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not his fault that he has a gift, and sometimes someone wants to take that and use that for their own means, which is what the vampires were doing. Like, none of that he's not culpable for that motivation. So, I think it's an important scene, and I wish I would have seen it. It's a nice little bookend.
Yeah, they're both important. I say the mid credits is definitely like
the real ending.
That's the real ending of the film. Like if you didn't see that, like you haven't seen the whole film, really. I mean, because the way it ends is like super sudden, and then it cuts to credits, and then It's an interesting choice to do these mid-credit, post-credit scenes. Like, obviously, that's a very Marvel
Hmm.
superhero thing to do. Now real movies are starting to do it, but uh, it makes like could have that just have been the last scene of the movie before any credits? Probably. That's how they
Here's
would
my
have used to done
theory.
it. Yeah.
Ryan Coogler loves cinema. He loves the
Yeah.
movies. So I think he's like, you know what? I'm going to put a little something for the people that watch the credits, for all the people whose hard work goes into making one of these damn things. You know?
It is a good way. Yeah, it's a good way for people to actually make people sit through all the credits.
Yeah.
The problem is like sometimes you don't know, you're not expecting
And you
like
lose
for
the main ending.
obviously any MCU movie you would see, you would expect a post credit scene because that's what they've sort of conditioned you to expect. But
Mhm.
for a movie like this, if I hadn't known going into it, I wouldn't have necessarily suspected that there was a post credit scene.
You think Hannah Beechler's name doesn't deserve to be seen, Jacob? You want
Oh,
me to
absolutely.
call her right now and tell her that you said that exactly?
No, I think she did a great job. But yeah, I just think it's funny that it's becoming a trend now in like real, like I hate to say some
Regular.
movies are real movies or whatever, but
We know
it's
what you
just
mean
funny
by
to think
that.
about. Yeah.
What do you mean, real movies?
What would
Uh,
Martin Scorsese think about this? I don't know. He'd probably be fine with it.
Call it a
yeah.
theme park ride.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, that's Sinners. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Should we go head over to final thoughts now that we've gone through it all, made it through the night? And
Let's do it.
all right, let me tune up this guitar.
Play
I'll
some
catch you
blues.
on the
Yeah.
other side.
We're back here on Normies Like Us. We pierced the veil. We're returning to the real world as we're wrapping up our thoughts on Sinners, the new film in theaters right now. As we said, R-rated, Southern historical gothic vampire musical. Absolutely one of a kind film.
Mm-hmm.
We recommend you see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
I liked it a lot. Um,
Probably going to make my top 10. A quick shout out, because we always put those lists on Letterboxd. This movie is so good. It broke Mike's streak of never
oh,
writing letterbox reviews. He wrote a
wow.
letterbox for this film.
that's right. Oh, maybe I should find it. Let me pull it up and I could share it. It's short, but I did
This
write a
film is
letterbox.
10 Juons.
That's right. That's all I do.
This
Um,
film, and then, of course, your top rated thing, Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
I haven't even
That's
done
right.
like uh oh my God, I can't think
Romulus,
Romulus. But here's what I wrote for this is my
Nosferatu.
yes, no Nosferatu. I've only written 2 reviews ever, so this broke my streak. So I said, this movie literally and figuratively sings. It is able to scrutinize a number of social and societal issues with scathing specificity while still maintaining a universal feel in its themes. Ryan Coogler has a bona fide classic, which manages to refresh predictable genre tropes with bold and surgical subversions, elevating Sinners to a place few horror films are ever able to reach. I think it was
Wow.
very well done. So I liked
love
it a
that.
lot.
Roger Ebert
Very well
over
written.
here.
I'm trying to get a
2
new
thumbs
career
up.
going.
Yeah. Um,
Thanks for
well,
watching.
so the real question is, so obviously we've had 2 new modern vampire classics now, right? That
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you're a big fan of, Nosferatu
Mm-hmm.
and Sinners.
Nosferatu
So,
and Sinners.
Yeah, Mike.
right. So, which one did you like better? That's the real question.
So I like them both a lot. They're both shot incredibly well. But Nosferatu is a remake, a very well done, lovingly made, passionate project that Eggers has been wanting to make since he was 12. But Sinners, it is unlike any other vampire movie I've ever seen. Like I said, it's a version of the genre tropes. Nosferatu is the genre tropes. Done very
That's a
well.
good
But
point.
I love Sinners. It's
That's a good point.
incredible. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, it's still early in the year, obviously, but it's the best movie I've seen this year that's come out in 2025. I mean, limited selection, obviously. There's
Mm-hmm.
still a lot of time to go, but yeah, it probably will make my top 10 next year.
It must.
I thought it was really good, really inventive. A mixture of genres, can't really be easily classified. So there's a lot I really liked about it. And yeah, I love the cinematography. I love, the acting, everything. So the music, sound production, incredible. I will say, minor nitpick, and I don't know if this was my theater or what, but I did so a mixture of the sound and the the way people talk, the accents, that like the heavy Southern accents, I did have trouble at times understanding certain characters when they were talking. And partially it's because, I'm kind of, I have bad hearing already. I, kind of have blown my ears out from listening to loud music over the years. I also use subtitles to watch everything when I'm at home because I have a hard time understanding people. So it's a mixture of having no subtitles, the heavy accents, and I feel like something was slightly off with the sound in my theater where it just sounded a little more muddled when people were talking. I don't know if that's an experience that you guys had, but
I
overall, there was times when I could not understand what people were saying.
I'm at the age now where I think I'm just gonna start requesting audio assistance. I can't watch
Yeah.
something without subtitles anymore.
well,
Anytime I go to the theater, it is like a thing where it's like, oh shit, no subtitles. Now I have to actually listen to what people are saying.
I think they have devices that accommodate those who are hard of hearing or can't hear for all movies where you can, it's like your own personal subtitle device. Yeah. Is that what you're
I'm gonna
referring
start
to?
just getting
I'm
the
gonna have to start getting
headset.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tells me
I'm an
what's
old
going
man.
on.
Let me say, sometimes, yeah, with the accents and stuff, I would get a little confused with what was being said, but I also love that, like, Ryan Coogler is like, nope, I don't care. If you,
Yeah.
like, we're doing authenticity.
No, and I
I don't
appreciate
care.
that.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
that aspect of it. And I think if it was just the accents, it would be fine. But it was also like the muddled sound, and I don't know if that was just mine or just the overall sound design of the film because there was so much layering of different sounds and stuff going on. But at times, I was just had a really hard time hearing dialogue. But maybe when I rewatch it at home, because maybe it was just the IMAX sound system.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. So
Because it's felt like a perfectly fine mix to me. It's just the accents sometimes. So I don't, maybe it was the IMAX, who knows, but fair point.
when I watch it at home, maybe I'll be able to hear it a little better and also use subtitles. But that's just a minor complaint I had.
I kind of also think the exposure was a little off. I think it was a little too dark.
I saw in your letterbox, Colin, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because I think I noticed some dark shots, but I think it was a stylistic choice.
It was shot for IMAX, Jacob. I wonder if the exposure was different for you, just because it's that more depth of.
No, when I was watching it, I definitely noticed some dark shots, like of people's faces and stuff. I do think it was a stylistic choice, though. It's kind of like, hiding people's faces and things like that. Like,
light.
and sometimes like you would just see the eyes of like the vampires, like the way they shot the eyes reflecting kind of and stuff. So I think they didn't always want to show you everything. So I think it was a stylistic choice, but yeah, I don't know.
Also, Ryan Coogler had mentioned that, shooting on 70 millimeter and like you just have so much more latitude, and then to do conversions for the digital projection and stuff, like there is a different stop latitude, so you do lose information when they transfer off of IMAX. So that is also, besides the stylistic choice to be dark, you might be losing detail in the shadows that you would have in the IMAX screening.
Sure, that's what it is.
That's possible. And it's less and less people are shooting on film, so it's sort of becoming a lost art, so it's harder and harder to do.
And I'm sure we got the digital projection, like they're not putting a film reel on at the Alamo. I'm getting the hard drive delivered to the theater, right?
Right. Yeah, I suggest fidelity. If you're able to see it in 70 millimeter IMAX, it was definitely awesome experience. I don't know that you need to see it in IMAX. Like, it's definitely, obviously, was shot with IMAX cameras partially, but it's just
Make
like
Ryan
Oppenheimer.
Coogler happy. Go do it.
Yeah, you can still enjoy it in other formats and stuff. And obviously, when I rewatch it at home, whenever it comes out on streaming and stuff, like, it's not going to be the same. But the aspect ratio switch was very interesting, where it would go from widescreen to full screen sometimes. And yeah, that IMAX photography, I really like the way it was shot. Other than like the underlit scenes, like you're saying, Colin, maybe it was a stylistic choice. I will say the cinematographer, that same cinematographer, also shot Wakanda Forever, and I remember that movie being kind of like underlit at times too. And I guess I'm more willing to think this is a stylistic choice for this kind of movie than for like an MCU movie. And I think there is it's sort of a modern problem with cinematographers where they just don't light things enough.
Brought it up. Yeah, people don't use gaffers anymore.
Yeah. A lot of times it is a more stylistic choice. Like even with the Game of Thrones, the last season of Game of Thrones, like the long night when they had the battle with the
White Walkers.
Whatever, the White Walkers.
Don't people have TV settings? Come on.
Yeah. Everyone said it was too dark and they watched it on their TV. The cinematographer's like, no, like we deliberately shot it that dark. It didn't work because you need you need a specifically timed monitor to view it the way it was meant to be viewed. So
Way to
obviously
make a piece
normies
of
at home are
broadcast
not going to
media.
have that. Yeah.
Right.
My mom doesn't know how to turn motion smoothing off on her TV. You think she knows anything about color timing or anything like that?
Right. 101, know your audience. Most
Yeah.
people don't have that. Yeah, I like not doing traditional vampire stuff. Like when we see Remick running from the Choctaw, it's like, oh, it's going to be classic, the White Devil, literally, right? But it has a little more nuance. He puts a little more spin on another subjugated peoples to make a relatable villain. And I think,
Yeah.
not to go crazy down this, but in the world we're living in right now, where the DEI scrubbing is happening of libraries and stuff, where like these stories are trying to be removed, I think it's great that this movie one is so good, and like it's telling stories that don't get told often. So like go see it, because this kind of stuff is trying to get deleted. The history of Tuskegee Airmen and shit. Like, be
Right.
aware. And this is all about being aware of where shit comes from, the origin of music. Like, be aware of stuff
Absolutely.
like that. Do your research.
Yeah.
You know?
That Little Richard documentary was so educational about the it wasn't just about Little Richard, it was about the whole history of blues and modern rock and roll and everything. So again, it's just it's weird that I saw this movie when I've seen so many thematically relevant things like recently. Like I said, I was watching a lot of Civil War movies. I also watched just last week Ali, the Michael Mann film Ali about
Wow.
Muhammad Ali. So we are talking about Muhammad Ali earlier. I think it's funny how sometimes in your life things line up where you're watching things that connect to each other in ways that you didn't expect. So this movie came around exactly the right time in my life that I really appreciated it, and it's definitely one of the most successful non-IP, non-sequel movies that's come out in a long time. It still has that genre aspect to it where I wonder, obviously I don't know that it would have been as successful if it didn't have the whole vampire thing. Like if it was just a straight up movie about two brothers opening a juke joint in the South, like
Right.
it doesn't have that vampire hook, but
less reliant on the supernatural. But just real quick, another film this made me think of: period piece, musical, a little bit of supernatural. Oh brother, where art thou?
Oh yeah. The Odyssey. Yeah, there you go.
The Odyssey. Yeah,
good call. Good pull.
Yeah, and that's obviously very musical as well. You're right.
It has the devil in it versus a vampire, and has an actual Robbie Parker stand-in. I mean,
right.
You know, it's
fair.
The sirens.
This
and it was based on the Odyssey, right? It was a modern retelling of the Odyssey set in Depression era South, right? And Christopher Nolan's making the Odyssey now. Speaking of Oppenheimer,
oh, that's
John
right.
Turturro in it, you coward.
Is he doing IMAX?
Put George Clooney in it.
I'm sure he is, Mike.
For the Odyssey?
Jake will be there.
100%.
This also reminds me of, anytime I can shout it out, the Dinosaurs TV show.
Of course.
Bear with me.
Be my first.
What episode, Mike?
So there is an episode where Robbie and his high school buddy go to the other side of the swamp, and they start listening to mammal music, and it's blues and stuff. And they're like, yo, this music is awesome. So they take it to the record label, the recording. They're like, yo, you should sign these guys. And the Dinosaur record label signs the mammal music, but just re-records the songs with dinosaurs for a dinosaur audience. So the mammal music is literally like, I was born alive, mama didn't lay no eggs. And then it's a dinosaur saying, I was born alive, mama didn't lay no eggs. Literally just appropriating mammal culture.
Mike, were the humans
like the Elvis
small in that show?
The humans were cavemen. They weren't small,
but were they,
but
like,
they were...
But scale-wise...
They were roughly proportionate to the dinosaurs. They were just unintelligent. But I always remember that movie.
Dinosaurs TV show has so much more interesting plots than I ever thought.
A lot going on.
I mean, that's essentially the story of Elvis, right? Like, if you've seen the Elvis movie, there's that scene where you're like, he's a what?
Johnny Cash.
He's a what?
Exactly.
They hear him on the radio.
No, so this has that theme.
Music. Yeah.
Right. But instead of doing it one-to-one basic, Coogler puts a little bit more nuance on it and a little more depth. Like, it should be deeper than a Dinosaurs TV show. But that's subject matter, you know what I mean? That topic, and to approach it in a unique way. So good job, Coogler.
No, it
Um,
is. I mean, thematically, it's a very interesting movie, and
it's
everything with
very
the blues, like,
relevant.
yeah. Well, if you think about American culture, like, it all kind of traces back to,
K-pop
again, like
doesn't
all
exist without Delta blues.
right, and that's the only truly American culture, because you think obviously
Hmm.
music dating back to Europe or Africa, like they have different kinds of music, but purely American music, like that's what blues, it originated here, and
Well,
that's
that
everything that
also
grew out of it.
informs
Yeah,
maybe why Remick was with the Choctaw, because that's the other original American music is,
right,
Native
right.
American music. So that's probably what attracted him to that. So I'm so fascinated by that world building. It's only like 2 minutes, but it's like,
Yeah,
was Remick just hearing their kind of native music and be like, this is the shit? I'm sure
yeah.
it was very
Just loves.
similar.
He's just a music lover. He loves all kinds of genres.
My
He's
my
Fontana.
dad
Yeah.
my dad went and saw House, Hugh Laurie himself,
Hmm.
play
Sure.
music once,
Play some
piano.
blues.
Yeah.
And it was blues and jazz, Jacob.
Yeah.
And he said that the entire time he's playing, he would have these little asides where he would just say, just unabashed, pure joy of like, America created the greatest thing ever, this type of music.
Yeah. I mean, even the Beatles, like all these British bands in the like the late 50s and early 60s, the Beatles in the late 50s were teenagers who all wanted to be Little Richard. They all wanted to play this blues. They wanted to play this. They were in these things called skiffle bands where they played blues and country and Western music, which was coming out of America. And they
Robert
reinvented it,
Plant,
became
everybody
the
in Led
the
Zeppelin
British
wanted to be
invasion. Yeah.
um
So it's really literally the British stealing our
what was his
culture,
name? Guitarist.
imperializing our culture as they do, and becoming the British invasion. That's why they called it the British invasion. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw like a couple months ago a documentary about something similar too. Is there's like this guitarist, her name is Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She's like in the Rock and Roll Hall of
mm,
Fame now, and she's like this black
yeah,
woman who was playing like electric guitars and stuff. Like Eric Clapton and Keith Richards are like, yo, like she was like an inspiration to me, like for sure.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's like one of my favorite bands is called Pierce the Veil, and like literally emo
right.
genre is just the blues with less stakes.
Yeah,
So it's like
Yeah.
important to know like the history of music and where culture comes from, and it is like one of the most important American inventions. And
It
you
is
know,
interesting that in the Pierce the Veil scene they have the Jimi Hendrix stand-in, but he's a guy who just has like a huge do-rag head wrap on, not a huge afro like Jimmy had. Why not just make it Jimmy?
maybe he's not going for one-to-ones maybe. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's good stuff. Again, I like the theming of
yes,
it's
and everything. I mean, everything in this movie: sin, religion, music, racism. It's all tied together.
and
Very
I'm
one of a
buying
kind.
in that we are all sinners, but the biggest sin, like I said, is to not do that thing you're passionate about.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
So we all
Yeah.
recommend Sinners. Go see it in IMAX if you can.
I say
Yeah.
sneak in after you see Minecraft, but yeah.
Yeah, go pay for Minecraft, but sneak
Pay
into
for
Sinners.
Minecraft, sneak
Yeah.
into Sinners.
I
Yes,
did
yes,
have
yes.
so I had a very receptive audience, like I said, that was laughing a
Yeah.
lot and reacting to the movie. During the trailers and the lead up to the movie, at one point someone shouted "chicken jockey" and got no laughs, but they're like "chicken jockey," so they were trying to be funny. But
Just
No.
during any trailer, like not even
it
one
was
with Jack
yeah,
Black.
no, it was like between trailer, like they were just trying to reference the Minecraft movie, but
Oh boy.
didn't get any
Jeez.
laughs. But I thought it
No.
Good.
was
I'm
Don't put
glad
them
it
over.
didn't. Yeah. Don't do that.
Oh, well.
But that's Sinners. I'll say upcoming. We
Mm.
can talk a little about what we've got coming next. So next week, of course, we are starting the year of Hayao Miyazaki, Studio
Mm,
Ghibli.
nice.
And we're starting with his directorial debut, his feature-length debut, Lupin the Third, The Castle of Cagliostro.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
I
And
look
then
forward to that.
yeah, then we're into May, believe it or not.
And then May, I
It's
believe,
gonna be May.
it's gonna
Every
be
May we do
May.
our JT episode.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So, well, I think for May 5th, we do have, of course, a big release, a little movie called Thunderbolts coming out.
Thunderbolts
Um,
asterisk, yes. I
Thunderbolts
get
Asterisk.
my favorite character, Ghost from Ant-Man 2.
That's right. So I'm excited to learn what that asterisk is about.
That's
So I
right.
think we're gonna do that, and then we'll figure out the rest of May. But just a little taste of what's coming next.
You said we're going to do all the Trolls movies, didn't you, Jacob?
Yeah, we're gonna do all the Trolls movies.
Gonna be May.
Oh my gosh.
We're just gonna do the
Yes.
Justin Timberlake filmography. So we're gonna do
You said
Social
we're doing
Network.
social. Yeah, you said
Yeah,
we're doing
yeah.
Social Network and then
Yeah.
the Trolls, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
No, who
Inside
directed
Llewyn Davis.
Social Network?
David
Fincher?
Fincher.
David Fincher. Yeah.
We're gonna do Inside Llewyn Davis, Coen Brothers classic.
That's a great performance by him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Kennedy. Oopa.
Ooh.
I
We
have
got
one last
freaking
question.
Kylo Ren in there too. Come on.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, go ahead.
One last
It's
Sinner's
Kylo
Related
Ren
question.
and Poe Dameron singing folk music together.
You love it.
All
We
right,
love
go ahead.
folk music now.
Yeah.
Truly. So there's been a lot of people talking about the Sinners cinematic universe. Like if you were to see a spin-off, people have pitched either the Choctaw interaction with Remick or Remick's origins. Is there anything? I'm fine having just Sinners, but with like the world building, is there any of that you would be interested in seeing?
If he's going out of his way enough to get this like owned property thing, and I think it is going to end up doing quite well at the box office, I think you get Sinners. Is this film's just called Sinner?
Sinners with an S.
Oh, it is with an S. I was gonna say you put the S with the $sign, but if it's
Mhm.
already there,
Just put another
I don't
S.
know. I don't know what it would be about. I guess the continued adventures of Stack, maybe.
That's one too. Yeah.
It's like
Or the in between years.
Like that last scene kind of reminds me of Interview with a Vampire.
Oh
So they
yeah.
could do, you know, when because like what's his name? Brad Pitt is like in modern day talking to Christian Slater and telling him the whole story and everything. So yeah, they could do the later adventures of them, or they could do their version of that new metal sequel that they made like in the 2000s. What was that called? Queen of the Damned.
Your
Queen
favorite.
of the Damned. Aaliyah.
Queen of the Damned.
What if they do a Chinese werewolf movie instead to split the difference?
You ever seen a Chinese vampire? They jump when they move. It's pretty cute. That's part of their lore. They have to hop. Yeah. So let's try to make that serious.
This movie probably doesn't need a spin-off, but
I don't think it needs it either, but people have been speculating, you know.
Right. I think this movie and Nope are like the two best original genre movies that we've gotten this decade.
They're subversions of things that we've seen before done in like a super fresh and unique way. So yeah, like Nope is the most unique alien invasion movie I've ever seen.
Right.
And
obviously we don't get a lot of original non-IP genre stuff like this. So
and we wouldn't have Georgie's Home without Nope. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Great job, Ryan. Thank you.
Googler, we're excited to hear what's next. Probably Black Panther 3 with Denzel.
Don't put him on Blade. That project is cursed.
Please.
Yes. We're gonna get Blade and Marvel Rivals before we get Blade the movie.
Yeah.
Normies, if you checked out Sinners, let us know at normies_like_us, where you can also follow along on all our social medias, rate, review, subscribe. That helps us out a lot, but also message us there and say, hey, May episodes, I've got ideas for May episodes. We would love to hear that, and we'll do them. We promise.
That's right. But we do have some new stuff coming out the next couple months that I'm excited for. Lots of superhero type stuff. So stay tuned for all that. We'll be covering all your Marvel news, of course.
And follow along on YouTube.
Yes, follow along on YouTube. Look at our beautiful faces.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to our beautiful voices.
I've added a hair light, now, so like things are really upgrading.
There we go.
Right. Colin's got his Dodgers hat.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I also have these scary white eyes, so I'm going to leave you with that as I come to feast on your soul, Jacob, because we've been your hosts. This is Colin Bread. Hey, let me in.
Mike Stack.
No. And this is Empire Jacob.
Take some of that blood with a side of potatoes.
All right. Catch you next time, Normies.
Catch you next
They're
time.
always after me, Remick Charms.